back in business like we always was, nigga. The sauciest things is Prego. You know what the fuck going on? We gonna fuck this whole summer up too.
Shalom, 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 family. Oh, let me get my shit together here. Let me get my shit together. Oh, shit. Let me get my shit together. Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to controversial and deep biblical breakdown series sponsored by the Scoring Black Man podcast. I'm your host, Zadok Israel. I have my two co-hosts, the other Zadok with an S, and Don Yehuda. He just dropped out. He'll be back in. And we have a special show for y'all tonight. We have a special brother by the name of SELAH Shalom. I like to call him Mr. AKA. It's a vibes. It's a vibes. And the brother is powerful, man. Let me unmute him. The brother is powerful. He has some good teaching. His knowledge is increasing. And knowledge is increasing upon the earth. And before I start the show, I'd like to say shalom, good brothers in here. Shalom. Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom. Now, today's show of the controversial and deep biblical breakdown series is called, and I hope I pronounced this right, say it for me again, brother. Name of the book?
The Oahspe.
The Oahspe Bible. Is it the last instructions from the Creator and the differences with the Holy Bible? And before we get started with any questions or anything, brother SELAH, I want you to give the crowd, maybe newcomers who haven't heard you, a brief history about yourself, your walk in the truth, your walk for knowledge, and how you came about the book of Oahspe.
All right, peace and blessings. Let me know if y'all can hear me clear. All right, cool. So
we can hear you, brother.
Yeah, I've been in this walk of life for a minute. Like, I started out with ancient Egypt back in like the early 90s, like 93, 94. I was dealing with like the Kemetic knowledge, you know what I mean? I was fascinated with the pyramids, things of that nature. So the spark of interest started with ancient Egypt back in the early 90s. And then like mid 90s, I came across the gods on the earth and the nation of the gods on the earth, the 5% of the church. So I had the whole 120 lessons. In 1996, 97, we were studying, you know what I mean, the 120 lessons, the supreme alphabet, supreme mathematics. I had all that in my possession. And around that same time, I was studying the lost books of the Bible, the forgotten books of Eden, the book of Enoch. I did all these things in my 90s when I was a teenager. So, you know, by the time the millennium came, like 2000, the Hebrew Israelite movement was on the rise. You know what I mean, dabbled in that. You know, a couple of brothers in that. Then, early 2000s, like around 2006, 2007, 2005, is when I came across the Oahspe. I met a Jamaican dude. A Jamaican introduced me to the Oahspe. Just for the record, for all those talking about the white man, this, that, a goddamn Yachty introduced me to the book. So we was at the park burning some trees, and this dude came up, and I forgot how we got on the topic. We got the building, and he brought out the book. He had the book in his hand, and he showed it to me, and I was skimming through it, and he talked about Abraham's son, Isaac, not being sacrificed by God, but it was an evil spirit. So I found that intriguing. I said, he showed me the verse, and I read it. I was like, damn, what other book talk about Abraham like this? So I investigated it, skimmed through it, you know what I mean? Read the book, because a lot of people want to judge the book but don't want to read. So I read the book, read through the whole book, beginning to end several times. And I realized like this book is divinely inspired by the Creator. And that's why I've been calling out debates on the subject, because I'm looking at the information outside of who wrote it. But that's my introduction to the Oahspe, my walk of knowledge.
Con. And give us a brief overview of the Oahspe. You know, how did it come about? Who authorized it? who channeled it, and give us a couple of differences between that and the Holy Scriptures, and then we'll get to ask you questions. I know you'll be getting to get more deep into it.
Not so good. To answer your first one, you know what I mean, like how the Oahspe come about. Well, by the guy named John Newbro, the most controversial guy right now, because everybody, when they research Oahspe, they look at John Newbro and they screenshot me the picture like, oh, a white boy wrote this book. I'm like, bro, come on, I've been over this. I've been doing this for so long. When people come to me like that, it's like you're at the very, very beginning stages, you know what I mean? But it's a biography that John Newbro himself wrote about how the information came about. And long story short, it was spirit communion, basically communication with angels. Now, some people will say, oh, well, that's demonic. In order for anything to be demonic, you have to analyze the text and the characteristics of the text in order to dictate if something is demonic or not. So that's another thing I know that people who attack the Oahspe say that they never read it, because if they read it, they would understand that the Creator is against any demonic activity engaging in warfare. So it was channeled through automatic writing. He was commanded to get it. First, he was commanded that he had, the angels appeared to him. I'm just giving a brief because you can read the biography, you know what I mean, online. But the angels appeared to him in his house or whatever, and they told him they had a work for him to do for Jehovah. And then the first thing they told him was to stop eating meat for 10 years, and we'll come back in 10 years. And he did that. He talks about how he lost the weight and how his health got better in 10 years. Sure enough, they came back and they instructed him what to do, which was to get a typewriter and to sit before the typewriter 30 minutes before sunrise every morning for 50 weeks. He did that. And through automatic writing, the Oahspe was compiled. So this work was not coming from the mind of John Newbro. He was used as a vehicle, as a host, as a channel just for the revelation to come through. The same way Moses was used as a host and a channel for the revelations of the Torah, or the instructions to come through, the same way. So
now,
yeah, go ahead.
Let me intervene for the. All right, so I know you talks about the Creator, the Lord, I mean the Lord gods, the Lords, and so forth. Who exact channeled this to the dude? Was it the Most High, or was it one of the Lord gods or lords?
Great question. Now, having this understanding, it was ordained from the Creator, the Most High, because it's not in the name of any God, Lord, or Saviors. It's decreed in the name of Jehovah, the Creator. And the angels that decreed this say the same thing. It's decreed in the name of Jehovah. So the presider over this information is the Creator, sent through his messengers, which are the angels.
Okay, so we're going to open it up right now. You know what I'm saying? Of course, we want to go ahead and get into it. I know the brother Don Yehuda, he's the one that pointed you out to me, man. I've been watching your videos, man. You got some real knowledge. You kind of remind me of the brother that does the other controversial and deep biblical breakdown shows on here, Brother Israel. Y'all have some very interesting doctrines that shakes up Israel, and that's what I like. Iron sharpens iron, and we cannot be afraid of, because we get so relaxed in our doctrines, and we have to keep sharpening our swords. We don't understand that, and so we sometimes get afraid to be challenged by other doctrines, because we understand that it's some miscommunications, I would say, in the Holy Bible and the Quran and any other book. Now, I'm gonna ask you this: is there any what we'll call mistranslations that you will see in the Oahspe? Any contradicting scriptures in there?
A contradicting in the book itself?
Yeah, you know how people say the Bible contradicts itself. He might say, well, the Lord, like I think I heard you say, well, the Lord commands to kill right here, but then he says, thou shalt not kill. Is there any kind of,
the only contradictions in the Oahspe is, for the most part, the words of the false gods. But like when you read the Oahspe from beginning to end, you'll see that Jehovah the Creator remains the same. Thou shalt not murder is thou shalt not murder throughout the book. And those who engage in murder are those who've been following the false gods, because the false gods are the ones who inspire murder and bloodshed. The Oahspe lays out the conditions of the spirits of the dead who engage in warfare to show you the condition and the nature of the spirits who affiliate with warfare. So when you understand the aspect of not engaging in warfare from the Oahspe's perspective, because of the affliction that brings upon the angels in heaven, you will start to question, why would a God indulge and condone warfare, knowing these spiritual afflictions preside after death?
Okay, well, before I pass it to Don Yehuda, I know I said I was going to pass it right to you, Don Yehuda, but that kind of opens up into my first question that I had. Why do you think, brother Shalom, that the Oahspe is valid?
Because like with all things, like the Bible say, test the spirit to make thyself approve. A lot of people who judge the Oahspe never read it. They may have skimmed through it, did a Google research and think they know something. But if a person who's been studying this book for over 10 years, it's like I could say that this revelation is inspired from the Creator. Because like I said before, that the Jehovah and the Oahspe don't condone warfare. It shows you the name. Let me give you a verse right quick why Jehovah the Creator and the Oahspe says not to condone the warfare. This is in the book of Jehovah, chapter 8. I'm going to just read this verse so you could see what comes with engaging in warfare, spiritual warfare. So check it. This is in the book of the war. This is in the book of this is in the book of Jehovah, chapter 8. It says, verse 4, the angels under you. Now, this is not just to give clarity. This is the Creator explaining that the heavenly kingdoms ran by angels. At time, angels will leave you and pursue their own course. So this is basically in a nutshell what he's summing up. It says, verse 4, the angels under you shall become at times rebellious and defiant, disregarding your laws and decrees, and they shall desert your heavenly places and go down to the earth in millions and hundreds of millions. And they shall drive away the guardian angels and assume guardianship over mortals. But they shall develop no righteousness under the sun. But they will inspire mortals to war and destruction. And these angels themselves will take war on destructions on evil on every hand within the place of your kingdoms. With foul gases of atmosphere shall they make weapons of war and places of torment. With these elements shall they make suffocating hells in order to cast one another in chaos. Verse 6. And mortals who shall be slain in warfare shall be born in spirit in chaos. On the battlefield, in chaos shall shut spirits enter the spirit world, and they shall not know that they are dead as to earth life, but shall still continue fighting right and left. An enemy shall take enemy in these heavens, and they make places of torment, which they shall have built, and they shall know no peace, no wisdom. So this is the nature of the spirits of the dead who engage in warfare. So why would a holy and righteous God put you in a predicament of engaging in warfare when this is the conditions of the spirit after death for engaging in warfare? That's why the Oahspe is potent, because it shows you the responsibility that comes with warfare. If you kill, the spirits of the dead are born in heaven in chaos. So if your God of the Bible understood this, why would he tell his children to go to war knowing that these spiritual conditions hang over your head?
Right. And now I'm going to pass it over to the brother Don Yehuda. He's been watching you for a while. He found you. He brought you to me. I said, hey, man, let's get the brother on here, man. It's controversial and deep biblical breakdown series. You know what I'm saying? This is how we do. You know what I'm saying? We got to make everybody comfortable while making everybody uncomfortable. Right. So, brother Don Yehuda, I'm going to give the question to you right now. Let you get 2 questions off, and then brother Zadok get 2 questions. Then we'll take questions from the crowd and me. We'll just go back and forth and pick the brother brain. Go ahead, brother Don Yehuda.
Word, shalom. Hey, I want to just say shalom to the brother. How you doing tonight?
Shalom alaikum. Peace, King.
Word. So basically, brother, I seen you for the first time on the brother Malachi Maccabee channel, Honor and Humility STL. For those who don't know, go check that channel out. It was very interesting what you was bringing out about the Oahspe. I ended up ordering my Oahspe myself, so we decided we wanted to get you on here and really just dig in and see exactly what it is that the Oahspe has to offer to the Hebraic community. Most of us identify as Israel. And so just listening to a few of your videos, my first question would be, does the Oahspe have a chosen people? And if so, who are those people? Is it the Israelites or is it someone else?
Now, in the Oahspe, it has a timeline of history. So it comes down from the creation of man to our present time. And there were several chosen people. But the first chosen people in the Oahspe was called the Pygmies, the Ions. There was these little people. They stood no more than 3 or 4 feet tall. They're described as white and yellow in the Oahspe. Now, when a lot of people hear that, they be like, oh, look, see, there go the white man. But what they fail to realize, the Oahspe describes these white and yellow people that they're not coming from the European stock. These are pygmies, because they're 4 feet tall. They're 3 feet tall. So these were the ones who held the sacred knowledge in the beginning. And then later on, as the human population grew, the knowledge spread. So it does talk about the Israelites in there as being chosen, but at the same time, there's other nations that, like Abraham. Abraham was sent to Arabia, but there was other prophets during the same time of Abraham, like Brahma, who was sent to India. And then you have Po, who was sent to China, and Iwata, who was sent to North America. And these 4 holy men were sent by the Creator, but all we know is Abraham. But they was divinely inspired by the Creator. So the Oahspe does talk about chosen people and things of that nature, just long story short. But the overall revelation, the scope, precedes a chosen people. Like the idea of a chosen people is kind of elementary in comparison to what the scope and the scale of the Oahspe has to offer.
Okay. So basically, anybody, because I noticed I did a little research, and the adherents to the Oahspe are known as faithists, correct?
Right, faithists. Exactly. Those faithists is somebody who only has faith in the Creator only and none else. So the original ancient Israelites, they was like that. They only believed in the Creator prior to their lack of inspiration of the Creator, and allowed the tribal gods, the Lord gods, and these Elohims and Adonais from the lands of Canaan gained inspiration over the Israelites, and they became worshipers of these deities, which is held fast to this day. Because if you ask them, an Israelite today, who is the Most High, they're going to give you a description of what the Bible says. He's a man. He's a man of war. He's a man that Moses seen face to face, as a man speaketh to his friend. See, the Oahspe don't describe the Creator in that manner. That's describing the deity that the Bible describes the Most High. But in the Oahspe, the Most High cannot be seen like you see a fellow brethren. The Oahspe explains that the Creator, Jehovah, is omnipotent. No beginning, no end. You can't comprehend him, only through his creation. How you acknowledge the Creator.
Okay. That's what's up, King. So my next question then would lead into this, because looking at some information on the Oahspe, and like I said, I ordered it myself, but I just recently got it, so I haven't really had time to. It's almost 900 pages, so
yeah,
it's going to take some time to read through that thing and really dissect it and see what it has. So with that being said, I noticed from a previous video you had, and also looking at the information, that pretty much the Levitical order, or the Levites, were created due to the people that was like hanger-ons to Israel. And so they were the ones that kind of introduced sacrifices and things of that nature, because they were worshiping deities like Baal and Asheroth. Now, is that correct according to the Oahspe?
Well, the worship of Baal and Ashtaroth was going on pre-Israelite. You know, by the time Abraham sojourned in Canaan, the concept of Canaan, of Baal and Ashtaroth, Dagon, Shemesh, all the Canaanite gods, it was already being acknowledged and worshipped during the days of Abraham. So by the time Israel came out of Egypt for 400 years, they was given their own set of laws called the Leviticus laws.
Okay.
You know, and that's what you have in the Bible. You know what I mean? Thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that. And but the laws of the Creator doesn't require blood sacrifice.
Which leads me into this. Then where did these sacrifices originate according to the Oahspe?
It originated from the deities, from the Canaanite gods like Baal, Moloch. You know what I mean? If you read Leviticus chapter 17, verse 6, it talk about burning fat as a sweet savior for the Lord.
Right.
So these things are heathenistic in comparison to the Creator's ways, because the Creator don't require the killing of animals as a sweet savior in order to worship him. That comes from the false gods. They use those tactics to imprison the minds of mortals, to further imprison their souls after death.
Okay. Got you. I mean, I got other questions, but any brothers want to ask?
No, go ahead. I'm with it. I'm with the Q&A.
Brother Zadok, we're going to give you a chance, brother. It's your turn. It's your turn, brother.
Shalom. Hey, first and foremost, man, I'd like to say, how's everybody doing? It's good to see y'all, man. Brother Don Yehuda, brother Zadok up there with a Z, and the brother SELAH Shalom. All praise, man. What's going on, brother? I've been watching a lot of your videos, bro. Like, you know, I'm new to this, man, and this is some new profound information for me. I actually had to go and I copped that that Oahspe, man, expedited service, man.
Big facts.
You know, hey, that joint came, man. Hey, but because I'm very interested in, I'm just here to listen real quick. I got a few questions. I think Don Yehuda was jumping right in that thing, asking some questions. He kind of took some of my questions, man.
That's cool. We can read
yeah, I was about this, you know, the creator and everything, man. Like, why? I mean, as far as thinking for the man that he created, like us, right? Did he give us a mind to think for ourselves, or were we supposed to just be boxed in and just kind of just grow into this this understanding as these so-called cycles? I heard you talking about cycles in the video, or eras or arcs. When these things, when is, you know, like, what are we supposed to do there? Can we think for ourselves, or is the creator supposed to do all the thinking?
No, the creator created us independently, free will to choose. You know what I mean? So the creator has creation set up system in order, seasons and cycles. And our duty is to understand his ways and seasons and cycles. When I say his, I'm not talking about a man like me and you. I'm talking about just the creator, just general terms. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the creator created us independent. You know what I mean? Independent to think for ourselves. The same way when you have a child, you don't want to be thinking for your child. You want him to develop his own understanding so he know how to face the challenges in the world instead of him facing the challenge. And he called, Daddy, I'm in a situation. What do I do? Now you're crippling his ability to think because you're thinking for him. So the creator allowed us to be independent thinkers so we could figure out and navigate through his creation in order to become proficient leaders in the management of worlds and heavenly kingdoms. You can't have a king ruling a kingdom and he's dependent on the thoughts of those under his kingdom. You know, he has to be strong in heart, strong in faith, strong in mind in order to make grown man decisions. So the creator created us grown men, grown women, like thinking people. Like you could think, here's my law, statutes, and commandments. Don't kill no creature. Don't kill my living animals. Don't kill each other. Purify your body. Do service done unto others while gaining knowledge. And that's the ascension for spirituality. Because the Oahspe has a scope. It has a purpose. And let me give you an example. In the book of Jehovah, chapter 2, verse 2, it states that Jehovah said, I created the earth and fashioned it and placed it in the firmament. And by my presence brought man forth a living being. A corporeal body, a physical body, gave I him that he may learn corporeal things. And death I made that he may inherit my etherian worlds. So for those who read the Oahspe, we don't get caught up in the minute things because we understand the scope is the etherian worlds. Now, some people may ask, well, what is the etherian world? Just a brief description. Verse 6, in the all highest places created I the etherian worlds, and I fashioned them of all shapes and sizes, similar to my corporeal worlds. But I made the etherian worlds inhabited both within and without, with entrance and exit, and arches and curves, thousands of miles high and wide, and overruled I them with perfect machinism. And in colors and movable chisms and mountains in endless change and brilliance, to them I give motion and orbit and course of their own. Independent made I them, and above all other worlds in potency and majesty. This is the inheritance for us. So it's like school. When you're in high school, your duty is to graduate and go to college. Don't get caught up in the minute things in class, because you could fall back in your grade, drop out, and then you don't graduate. So Oahspe is showing you we have a scope to accomplish. So we don't get caught up on names, Jehovah being a J and the Y. We don't get caught up on that, because when you see the overall scope that the Oahspe has to offer, you'll see how rudimentary and minute the things we argue are.
Right, that made a lot of sense, and I actually followed along in that thing in the book of Jehovah, chapter 2. I got my last question here is, I think Don Yehuda hit on it already. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna ask it again. Why so much killing, blood, sacrifices, and things of that nature, if we were told, according to the Bible, if we were told to choose life? If life was told, we were told to choose life, right? Okay, then why is the Most High in the Bible with all of this killing? Actually, and he said, "Thou shalt not kill." So if I told my child not to play out in the street, or you're gonna get hit by a car, and then they see me and I'm going out and I'm getting, I'm out in the street and I get hit by a car. What is that teaching? What you created, your creation.
All right. Well, as far as I think you asked about like bloodshed and warfare, right? Like why
killing, bloodshed, warfare. Yeah, I think you might have touched on that. I'm not sure.
No, it's all good because sometimes we can recycle questions and just get more validity.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. Let me close this door.
All right.
Man, we're getting some good questions in this mug right now. You got one question out here in the chat.
Okay.
They want to know what is the difference in someone dying through warfare and violence compared to someone dying in sickness of an unfortunate event, I guess, or an unfortunate event such as drowning. Is the violence and Isyan in warfare? So.
All right. So which one you want me to answer? This one first or the other brother first?
The doc had. Answer the doc.
Yeah.
Answer the doc.
So rephrase your question one more time so I can be clear.
I was asking why in the Bible, why is it throughout the whole Bible, like pretty much there's so much bloodshed, so much killing, so much warfare, right? If life was told to be chosen instead of death, but I'm reading in the Bible that there's a lot of death going on by the Most High through people, so-called his spirit falling upon man to kill his own creation. What's up? What's good with that? What's going on?
All right, now that answer, could go variable ways. We could deal with the scrolls that was selected from the books, because keep in mind the Bible just means a compilation of scrolls. So if you got some scrolls coming out of this scroll talking about a God that requires sacrifice, and then you got another scroll talking about a God don't require sacrifice, and then you put them in the book, now we have a contradiction. Because like Jeremiah 7:22 states, I commanded not your forefathers concerning burnt offerings and sacrifice coming out of Egypt. But then when we go to Leviticus 17:6, it'll say that they burnt fat as a sweet savior, as a burnt offering for the Lord. You know what I mean? So in one breath, you have one God saying, don't do burnt offerings and sacrifice. And in another breath in Leviticus, they burning all type of cows and goats. So saying that to say, you have false gods that assume to be the creator. And these gods are deities. These are angels. And what they do is they'll convince. Now, I'm just giving you this in a synopsis in a nutshell, because I have to go through the whole heavenly kingdom to explain why these false gods become false gods. But just just driving it direct. These false gods, they straight. So it's like you got the president. So the president was inaugurated by the creator. Just making this so you can understand. So the creator was inaugurated. The creator inaugurated the president. Now the president has a council of government that has to be governed, and the words of the creator to the government, to the president, is what presides over the government. So say in the government, the president lays down the law, statutes, commandments, but the vice president decides to say, you know what? We've been following these law, statutes, and commandments for 200 years. I don't want to follow this. I'm going to go start my own thing. So that's how these false gods start. They stray away from the ways of the creator to establish their own doctrine for whatever reason. And that's how these false gods start off. Once they break away from the heavenly kingdom, establish their own base, the next thing they do is send messengers to the earth to find someone who's capable of hearing and seeing angels. They call them clairvoyants, clairaudience. When they find a person capable of hearing and seeing angels, they are used as a host or a vessel to deliver the revelation. The same way John Newbro got the revelation is the same way all the prophets or anybody who claim to have a divine inspiration, it comes the same way, through spirit communion. What makes the difference is the information in the revelation given is going to determine if it's demonic or if it's righteous. Now, I could easily say that the Bible is demonic because you have God's requiring blood, sacrifice. You have 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 3, where God is commanding the Israelites to kill off infants, Which one of you niggas gonna kill off infants? I know none of you niggas gonna kill off infants because you know that ain't right and exact. But in your Bible, you have God supposed to be in the Most High condoning these things. But then he comes with the verse, thou shalt not murder. So there we have the contradictions about these gods in the Bible. One God saying, don't do sacrifice. Another God saying, sacrifice. One verse saying, thou shalt not murder. Another verse, he's slain half the Canaanites. So these are the contradictions of the gods in Scripture. And none of these are the Most High creator. All these are deities assuming to be the creator.
Con. Appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that, man. We'll go ahead and we'll move on to the next question.
Okay, before I pass it to the brother on here, let me read that first question that was sent out there from the crowd. Again, it says, what is the difference in someone dying through warfare and violence compared to someone dying in sickness of an unfortunate event such as drowning? Is the violence something in warfare? This on the screen.
Is the violence? So all right, so somebody drowning and somebody getting shot to death, it'll coincide similarity because you're panicking and you're in fear. The flight of fear kicks in. So if you drowning and you die like that, your spirit is born in chaos. If you get shot in the streets and you know, some cats get head popped and they out of here. They don't even know what happened. They just know that something happened and a change of situation then took place. But somebody who may get shot and see their death coming and they get hit and they trying to gasp for breath, gasp for air, they in panic. They start to they cross over in spirit in chaos. You know what I mean? So it's just like being born. It's like the birth, how you come into the world, it varies. You have some babies coming in this joint crying. You got some babies coming here smiling. You see what I'm saying? But the nature of the spiritual death, as far as violence, the spirits are born in chaos. Now, if an old person live their old life and die, they're not going to be born in spirit and chaos. You see what I'm saying? So the nature of your death is going to determine the outlook of your spirit at the moment of death. Now, you're not going to be in chaos for eternity. That's just the moment the actual event took place. You know what I mean? But there is regions, there is time periods where you could be in spiritual chaos for a couple of years, 100 years, and even up to 1,000 the Oahspe speaks about. And I find that quite interesting. So you'll have dudes who died in the civil war in the goddamn 17, 16, 15, 1800s, and they spirits are still on the battlefield lingering. See, Oahspe touches on that. That's why you say don't engage in warfare, because your spirit could be lingering on the battlefield and be in chaos. And not only that, the Oahspe also teaches how to restore the spirits in chaos and restore the hells and how to deliver hells and restore the people back to the Creator.
Okay, one more quick question from the crowd. K Judah, the good brother K Judah over there at COC Fopi says, why would the Most High, would the Creator come to a white man when we already have his word and have him write another book?
But see, that's the problem. We try to dictate what the Creator wants. Your Bible says God is not a respecter of person. So the Creator could choose who he want to choose. Didn't he choose the Babylonians to bring you into captivity? See what I'm saying? So essentially it's like flesh and blood should not inherit the kingdom. So if you focus it on the flesh, you're gonna miss the message. And then, you know, Moshe has instructions, Torah, but then Ezra came with the Tanakh. And then Yeshua came with the kingdom of God is at hand. They created a whole New Testament behind that. So it's like even in their Bible, your Bible is amalgamated text, different scrolls, where we could say from different authors, like the story of creation. That's not Hebraic in origin. That's Babylonian in origin. You see what I'm saying? So we don't get caught up too much on like skin color and race and stuff like that, because like I said, those are low vibrational frequencies compared to the scope and the spectrum that we're dealing with in our spiritual progression.
Hey, that's something I want to just jump in. I don't know who you was going to have next, but because he brought it out, I did hear you say that the creation story was actually inherited or brought back from the exile in Babylon. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, because in Daniel chapter 1, verse 4, it talks about how the Hebrews had to learn the Chaldean tongue and the literature of the Babylonians. So what did they learn? That's the question. The evidence that come out of Babylon is the Amunna Elish, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and these things were written in cuneiform. These are your earliest sources dealing with the flood account and the 7-day creation story. They got the 7 tablets of creation written in cuneiform. Back then, they don't have no Hebrew accounts. Back then, written on stone in Hebrew about the 7-day creation story. So when the Israelites came into captivity is when it was introduced to the creation story. Because keep in mind, Moses, they have the story of Moses' birth to his death in the Bible. Show me in the Bible during the days of Moses where he came down from the mountain talking about in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. But he did come down from the mountain saying, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one." So the story of creation is not law, statute, and commandment. Out of 613 laws, where does the story of creation fit? See that? The story of creation is an after effect. That came after that came after the fact. Even in Ezra, it talks about how the law, statutes, and commandments was burnt and destroyed, and they had no records. So they had to recompile the Tanakh. The same way they compiled the Old Testament, the Tanakh, the same way they did the New Testament. They selected scrolls and they compiled the book. Because and the proof of that is in Matthew when Yeshua was asked, well, what is the greatest of all commandments? He didn't stop saying in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. He said to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and strength. And the next one follows to love thy neighbor as thyself. That's the first and second greatest commandments of all. And all the laws hang on these two commandments. He ain't say nothing about in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. That's chapter 1, verse 1 in the Tanakh. See that? But the first law of Israel is not in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. So that's something that the brother's going to have to, the burden of proof is on them to ask how did a story of creation precede the instructions of Moses?
Okay. So basically the Oahspe is really a foretelling or because I know it says it's not a perfect book. So it's really put in place really to kind of clear up some of the, I guess, the fog or the contradictions that may be in some of the holy books throughout the Abrahamic belief. So mainly the stars or the characters in the Oahspe is the different levels of angels, correct?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
So the Oahspe really touches on the various angels that had their hands in creating various religions.
It gives them by name.
Okay.
It gives them by name. It talks about these gods that inspired man to worship them over the creator. Because man, God is a man, which is right and exact. In the Oahspe, God is a title bestowed on an angel, and an angel is a one-time mortal human being, whether on this planet or another inhabitable planet. So it's like, in order to become a god, you got to be advanced in the kingdom. No different than if you're working at a job, you may come in loading trucks. But then if you stay long enough in advance and have experience, they may put you in a position of manager. And then from manager, you may go to supervisor. That's how the heavenly kingdom is ran among the angels. When you first come into the spiritual world, you're taken care of. No different than a baby coming into the world. He's nurtured for. And then he begins to mature and grow and learn in the spiritual world and develop, and such as above, so below. So what happens is that these deities, these angels, they'll get their pride and ego caught out there and want to be the most high. So if you read the Book of Wars Against Jehovah, that sums up everything. Everything we're going through right now as far as the man-God concept, it started 6,000 years ago during the 23rd arc cycle after the creation of man, where it talks about the gods of Baal, Ashtaroth, Osiris deifying themselves over the creator.
Now, just to be clear, Sister Weezy and all of us, Hebrew Israelites, we're not in One West, but most of us come out of the One West doctrine. But we want to know, what about them brews? You know what I'm saying? Do you believe you are Israelite, and do you believe that Israelites still have or the chosen, favorite? Not everybody else. The
Bible talk about the Israelites being the chosen. It got the description of Abraham. It got the description of Moses in the Oahspe, and it described them as being copper-colored people. So if this was a white man book, and if he really wanted to goddamn get busy, he could have switched that out and say Moses and Abraham was white. It was white men. But it says, matter of fact, do I need to get it? Where it describes Abraham as being a black man and Moses as being a black man. And in the Bible, it don't give you a description of Abraham and Moses. That's why the white man can make Abraham and Moses white. But once you have the text saying that this man was brown skinned, then they can't use that against you. And this is a white man book, so to say, right? So why would the white man leave that in there if this book was full of, as far as people who be on that type of time? Because I'm so far past the carnal and the flesh and blood, when I got to revert back to it, it just like, I'll revert back to it, but we so far past. Now, just to give you a description, and then I'll ask anybody, show me a description of Abraham in the Bible. I'll give you a description of Abraham in the Oahspe. Now, this is the first book of God, chapter 8, verse 7, it states, Abram was of pure blood Ahuin, and the light of Suez had been with his forefathers and foremothers since the flood. and he was a large and red like new copper. So he was large and red like new copper, and he had black hair, a long beard, fierce to look upon, but his soul was gentle as a lamb. So right here, it gives you a description of Abraham having a long black beard. You know what I mean? Copper skin tone. This is copper skin tone right here. They always talk about Jesus being bronze or copper and burnt in the furnace. Well, here just gave you a description of Abraham being copper skin tone. Now, I want to know, show me in the Bible that Abraham is copper skin tone. If you can't, then we can say, well, he could be any nationality.
But
just as a cherry pick back to those who's against this information when it's giving reverence to the black man.
now the brother K. Judah, he says that it does say Moses, and what he talking about is when Moses had to put his hand in his clothing, it came out white. Then he put it back in, and it came back as the other flesh. We know the opposite of white had to be dark.
Exactly.
So you know, it does hint that he was a dark skinned man with that scripture, but
right. But this is more clear when it's directly just saying he was copper skin tone. Now, you know, you can put your fan of Vernus and yeah, that's right, is that because I know that concept as well. You know what I mean? But yeah.
So all right, so brother, the brother here, man, let him go ahead and get a question in or a comment. Brother, what's his name right here? Ron, you brother, the brother who ain't said nothing. Shalom.
Unmute your mic.
Got to unmute your mic, brother.
Hey, shalom, guys. How you guys doing, man?
Shalom. Good, brother.
Okay. I have a couple things that's on my mind as you're speaking. Whenever somebody brings in a new topic, a discussion of the plausibility of the final writing of the Lord or of a new prophet, one of the biggest issues that tends to occur is a situation where these people don't have any books, any history, any connection to go by prior to their writing. When it comes to the Bible, we have the Torah, which it seems like part of your statement is to first denounce the theory of the origins of some of the writings in the Torah, like Genesis, and to assert the history that comes from the Oahspe as the primary truth. The thing is with that is things like the statement that you made with Jeremiah. If we don't connect things and we can't back it to original writings, that creates a situation where now it's something that we just have to accept as it goes unchecked, correct?
No, not necessarily, because like there was no formal writing of the creation story when given. You know what I'm saying? Like when the creation story, like you say, of the 7-day creation story was given to Moses, that was given from God. There's no prior source to that but God himself who gave it to Moses.
The creation story in Genesis?
Yeah, I was referring to when you said there's nothing outside of the book that could be backed historically.
Right.
So I used the creation story as a reference historically, that there is no reference to Moses that talks about the creation story. So he got it from God himself, according to the Bible. So there was no prehistory of creation prior to Moses getting that revelation from God, just to answer your question.
Okay. So when how do you validate the information that you have from the book of Oahspe? Do you use any other writings, any other history to validate the information?
First, the Oahspe is more of a spiritual revelation. It's more dealing with spiritual nature of angels simultaneously dealing with the mortal history. So a good portion of this book is going to be speaking of things that we're not going to find in history. The same way you can't find when Moses came down with the law, statutes, and commandments. When God gave Moses the law, statutes, and commandments, you couldn't find that in history because it was given directly from the spirit world. From the finger of God was the laws given. So prior, if you was to try to go in history and find the laws, you're not going to find it because it was given by the finger of God.
So is
now we
there a
have to
connection at
we have to
all
say it again. I'm
to the
sorry.
book from the book of Oahspe to Israel at all? Because
No, say it again. I can't hear you.
huh?
No, I didn't hear what you said.
Is there a connection to the book of Oahspe to Israel itself? Because some of the rules that Torah has, for example, is do not add and do not take away.
But the thing with that is they've been adding and take away. They added in the whole New Testament. They added the story of creation. They added a flood account. That's why I said out of 613 laws, which out of those laws is a flood account, or which laws is the 7-day creation story?
So the laws
Torah mean
are
instructions.
the
Instructions
rules
is not a creation
governing.
story.
So the laws are the rules governing the people of the land who
Those are just
came
basic
out
laws.
of those people. The history is just the history. So the explanation of who we are is in Genesis. The explanation of who we are is in the first portion of Exodus.
When you say explanation of who we are, like what you mean? Because Israelite had to start with
so
Jacob.
the same way that you know who Noah is. So the same way you know who Noah is, the same way you know who Adam is, the same way you know who Seth is, that's history. The laws are the rules
That's not history.
governing the
That's
people in
theology.
Israel. It's
There's
two
no
different
proof of
things.
those people in existence. So it's more theological than historical.
What the law? The history?
No proof of a Noah. There's no proof of a Noah. There's no proof of a Shem, Ham, and Japheth historically. You can't pull up records of these people. So it's more theological in a sense than history.
Well, let's see if I could explain this. It's not just in our history that some of these people have existed. It's going to be in the surrounding nations as well, because we are all one people and we split up. So, for instance, you're going to see things, and some people would disagree with me, but you're going to see some things in history, like in Egyptian culture, where you got the first being Atom, and then you see discussions of deities and other deities and things of that nature. But if you actually research it, that's the actual first man. You're going to see Shat, or you're going to see Seth within history. Those things are existent. You're going to see
but let me interject right there.
Like, for instance,
let me interject
Egypt
for a second.
named
The
Shem,
same,
right?
No, not necessarily. Because the same way you could hear about Santa Claus, and Santa Claus is spoken all around Europe, in America, even in Africa, they know about Santa Claus, but that doesn't make it a historical fact. It's theological. It's really fairy tale as far as Santa Claus, but Noah being a man. See, that's another thing. Oahspe exposes Noah. Noah is not a man in the Oahspe.
But what makes Oahspe's spiritual revelation a spiritual revelation?
You have to read the text
and not the
That's
opinions of a person who was raised as a Catholic.
I read the text. That's the difference. If you ain't read the text, then I know
I've been skimming the text, but that's why I asked a specific question. What makes it a spiritual revelation versus the opinions and the viewpoint of a person who was raised as a Catholic?
That's why you got to read the text. Because in order for me to know if this is spiritually superior or not, I have to read it and analyze it. That's the first.
So we don't spend a lot of time on angels in when you're dealing with Torah and Tanakh.
Say it again.
You understand what I'm saying? We spend the time on Yah. If Yah sends a messenger specific, that messenger is designed for a specific purpose. If there's a prophet that Yah sends us, that prophet is from our people, from our bloodline, to tell us, however stupid we are, it's there to tell us whatever we need to do to either get back on track and focus with Yah, or to follow a certain focus for whatever the time being is. Like the angels in your writings is a discussion of one person who decided that they like their power, they like their position of creating a religion for us to follow. They are doing things for specific reasons for their own entertainment. That's not necessarily what Tanakh teaches us angels do or angels are for.
Well, we can have a debate on what the angels do in heaven, and I can show and prove through chapter and verse what the angels do in heaven and how it affects mortals.
You want to debate me on what angels do?
No, the reason I say debate because that's how you get clarity. Because if you're making a stance about that the angels don't do that, then you'll have to show me in your like for example, if I was to ask you, what's the difference between God and Lord God according to the Bible chapter and verse? Explain to me that. Then I could go in my chapter and verse and explain to you the difference between God and Lord God just for clarity purposes. But if you can't differentiate who God and Lord God is, then it's going to be hard to have a discussion because you're not knowing that these are two different entities. You're confusing the vice president with the president.
A lot of the things that we believe today, which is why you get the feedback from some Israelites, which again, a little bit of knowledge is poison, is because a lot of the views that we have and a lot of the views that we believe today stem from a lot of the teachings that come out of the 1600s, a lot of the teachings that come from Strong's, from Finis Dake, from the guy who annotated the companion Bible, but at least those were annotations. You know what I'm saying? Like, this guy didn't just come up with Jehovah out of nowhere. You understand what I'm saying? He got the name from somewhere. He got some of his information from somewhere, especially if he's a dentist, growing up in the location that he grew up in, going to college where he went to. He had to have some kind of formal seminary training, which is usually what happens to most boys when they grow up in a Catholic-based home.
What training did Moses have when he got the revelation of the Torah?
When Moses got the revelation of the Torah,
yeah, what training did he have?
A man that was born in the 1800s?
It don't matter when he was born. Everybody has a starting point, and the books have a starting point. Just to argue, just for your argument, the Torah was given during 15th century BC, during around the ending of the Middle Kingdom, in the time of Moshe.
Okay.
But the Egyptian,
hold on.
But the Egyptian records stood long before Torah. So the Egyptians could say, "Why would I follow your Torah when we have Ma'at and the pyramid text that have been here longer than your Torah? Why should we follow that?" So it's the same argument you're raising.
And I'm pretty sure that they did that, but again,
and they had to analyze the information
Moses
to determine
did what
if this
he
was
did
coming from the creator
and how he was raised. His mother was part of his teaching. You know what I'm saying? So as far as Bereshit
was an Egyptian,
goes,
they was learned in Egypt. He learned all the wisdom of the Egyptians. The same way Daniel 1:4 says that the Hebrews had to learn the Babylonian literature and tongue. So my question would be: what did they learn? What did Moses learn? If he had
so Moses' mother took part in his upbringing too, right?
Hey, bro, not just
no
to
doubt.
cut in. The scriptures say, "Do everything in decency and order." Let a man finish out his sentence before you cut in and start asking more questions. The brother ain't even finished explaining the point that you're asking, and you just jumping right in, cutting in. So just respectfully, let the brother, if you ask him a question, let him finish out and then ask the next question.
True indeed. So go ahead, King.
Okay. So Moses' mother was part of his upbringing as well, right? Like when he was with the Pharaoh, his mother did take part in training him. Else he wouldn't kill a man for attacking one of his fellow people.
Well, we don't accept that he killed the man, because in the Oahspe it says he didn't kill a man. That was allowed by the Egyptians to stigmatize the Exodus. It clears up Moses wasn't a killer in the Oahspe, because you can't be a murderer and then come with the Creator's law talking about thou shalt not murder. That's a contradiction of actions, and the Creator's not a creator of confusion. Keep in mind, I say creator. I don't use the term God, Lord gods, or El Adonai, Elohim. I use the Creator. Whether if you want to call him whatever name you want to call him, but the source. But the source told Moses, "Thou shalt not murder." And then Moses looked left, right, killed the man, buried him in the sand, took the time out to dig up the sand, bury him in the sand, cover him back over, and then fled. That was allowed by the Egyptians, according to the
right. So that's what I'm pointing. That's the goal.
But that would make more sense that Moses was not a killer, because that would hold righteousness in his hand better than him being with blood on his hands talking about thou shalt not murder. It's a contradiction of action.
You just said to me, you don't accept that because the book of Oahspe told you that that's not the truth, right?
Right. Because some people get locked up for innocent murders that they didn't commit, and they get exonerated when they found out that it wasn't true.
Hey, bro, if you keep just cutting in, we got to mute you. Matter of fact, we got some other questions in the chat, or we got some other questions because we got to move on. No disrespect, brother, but you're not really just bringing really like direct questions. It's kind of like you just kind of lingering with it. Do you have a direct
Right,
question?
yeah. What's your direct question?
Because the brother ready, he ready to go. He ready to shoot like an AK with his information. So ask a direct
Like we
question.
could do chapter and verse, but right now we just freestyling. But if you was to scrutinize the chapter and verse, the page gonna change. Everything gonna change. Especially when we're dealing with the God concept. If you say Yah, now let me ask you this. Explain to me. You say Yah is the creator, right? I'll take that as a, although his mute is mic, I'll take that as a yes.
I got him. Hold on. Whoa, bro.
You said Yah is the creator, right?
Unmute your mic. There you go.
Yes, Yah is the creator.
Yah, right?
Yep.
Who is all right, so Yah be Yah, short for Yahweh, right? So in the 7-day creation story, it mentions Elohim. It doesn't mention Yah as the authoritative creator. It doesn't mention Yah until chapter 2 as a land god, a Lord God walking among the garden looking for Adam. Anything that is omnipotent, anything that is all-knowing doesn't have to look for anything. So when the term Yahweh is used in your Bible or Torah or Tanakh, it's in Genesis, it's in Bereshit chapter 2 is when you see Lord God, Adonai Elohim, or Yahweh Elohim. But in Genesis chapter 1, all is Elohim. And then it says, let us make man, showing plurality. Even the word Elohim is plurality. So you have a group of deities in the image of man creating that precedes Yah. Explain why Yah is not in Genesis chapter 1. So
when you say El Elyon, what you're saying is the supreme El, okay? When you say...
No, I'm not saying that's supreme. I'm saying that a group of deities created in the creation story and it wasn't Yah. Why is Yah not creating and the Elohims are creating?
When you say Elohim, it's just mentioning the group, okay? It is still Yah doing the creation.
No, we can't
if
say
it was
we can't
not,
lean on our own understanding.
don't correct me unless you can prove it. You cannot prove it. So let's get that fact straight.
You said it again. I'm sorry. You said what?
It is a specific angel that is doing anything. The Bible makes known who that angel is, whether it's Gabriel, whether it's Hillel, or whether it's Michael. Okay. Outside of that,
so my question is, why is Yah not mentioned in Genesis 1 and Elohim is mentioned? If Yah is the creator, for example, like in the Oahspe, the first book is called the Book of Yahweh, Book of Jehovah. He's showing that he's the presider and the author of creation in the Book of Yahweh. But in Genesis, Bereshit bara Elohim, it's not even El, because El is the singular. Elohim is plural. So you starting off with a group of deities when your God said, I am one.
No, see, again, that's dependent on how you were raised and how you were.
What the text says. I'm not going by how I was raised. I'm going by exactly what the Bible says.
Okay. You have a master and you have messengers, those who are designed to do what you need to do for whatever purpose, which you're laughing, but that's what it is. It's nothing more than that.
Move on with the next question.
It's in your perception because of the direction that you came from Egyptology.
Hey, bro.
Let's get some good questions in here.
Yeah, it's time to move on. Hey, now with that being said, because he brought up some points in that long soliloquy that he had, but with that being said, could you elaborate, because the disconnect I see right now as far as with the brother and maybe a lot of others who are watching and don't know, the disconnect is, how does the Oahspe fit in with the Israelite ideology that we know of today? When you see the brothers that's online, camps, various congregations, you know, your top names, and they're bringing out the information, what is the connecting point, or what are the contradictions that you may see pertaining to the scriptures and the Oahspe?
The contradicting point is that the gods that they follow and is claiming to be the Most High is not the Most High, but a deity. Okay. That's why I always say that the God in the Bible is described as a man. See, in the Oahspe, in the Book of Jehovah, chapter 1, verse 1, it states, all was, all is, all shall be. The all spake, and motion was, and is and ever shall be. Being positive was called he and him. The all motion was his speech. So the Oahspe is describing the creator as the all in all. You can't be a man and be all in all, because you'll be localized if you're a man. So the essence of the creator represents the omnipresence. Now that's just one verse. Verse 2 states, he said, I am, and he comprehended all things, the seen and the unseen, nor is there aught in all the universe but what is part of him meaning motion. So now I can read another verse where the angels describe, you can't see the creator. They say, yo, you're not going to see the creator as you see your fellow man. But the gods, the false gods, is the one who taught that the creator is in the image of man. That's the disconnect right there. The disconnect is that the God of the Bible, who claimed to be the Most High, is in the image of man, while the creator, Jehovah in the Oahspe, is not in the image of man. It represents the omnipresence. And the angels of the creator in the Oahspe, from beginning to end, testify of that. And any angel assuming to be the Most High in the image of man is blasphemous before the Most High creator. You shall worship no idols and images. Man is an image in the shape and form of something that you could touch and you could see. God sits on the throne, and Jesus is supposed to be on his right hand. Those are deities. And you thinking that this is the Most High. We've been duped for 2,000, 6,000 years. And we're trying to crack the chains off of these gods and crack the chains off of these people believing this doctrine as far as the Most High being a man of war. If I read you some verses about the judgment of warfare, you're gonna question. You're gonna go back and look at that Bible. As a matter of fact, let's do that. The Oahspe got a book called the Book of Judgment. They talk about the Day of Judgment. Oahspe got the Book of Judgment, and in chapter 32 of the Book of Judgment, it talks about why not? Don't engage in warfare. Now, keep in mind, God condones warfare in the Bible, but in the Oahspe, it's against warfare. And let me give you a couple verses. And when you understand how these verses read, you will get a better understanding how this is the words of the creator and not an angry and jealous God. Now, in the Book of Wars Against Jehovah, chapter 32, verse 8, it states, judgment is rendered against all nations and people on the earth for these great darknesses, these early deaths. And because these angels are bound to mortals and cannot go away from them until such time as mortals die, mortals are responsible and bound to train them up by example of righteousness and good works. Verse 12, judgment is rendered against all nations and people in the world who engage in war, thus bringing these afflictions upon the angels of heaven. This is Jehovah, the creator, saying judgment is rendered against all nations. Israel, Edom, Ham, Japheth, it don't matter. If you engage in warfare, judgment is rendered against all of you. Verse 13, judgment is rendered against every nation and all people in the world who carry on war or who are accessory to war, whereby any man created alive by Yahweh is slain, in defense of any king or ruler or defense of any country of government in all the world. Verse 14, and whether war be offensive or defensive, it don't matter. I'm in the right because he stole my land. No, I'm in the right because he stole my. It don't matter. Offense or defense. What it say? What it say? My judgment is against its abaters, and against the kings and queens or other rulers who are parties to war, willingly, knowingly, or otherwise. Verse 15. And I judge him guilty also who is general, commander, captain, surgeon, or private, that engage in war or take part therein, abiding, abetting, or otherwise, whereby any man created alive by Jehovah is slain or otherwise caused to die. See, your God in the Bible is condoning warfare. Oahspe is telling judgment is rendered against warfare for all nations and people. So who's the creator talking? Who's really talking and showing and proving right now? God in the Bible, I am angry and jealous, visiting the iniquity of the third and fourth generation. But this creator over here saying judgment is rendered against all nations and people, whether offense or defense.
The brother K. Judah say many Israelites, I got to say like my brother K. Judah, because he said with passion, many Israelites have been awakened through the spirit of prophecy, through the scriptures of the Bible. Can you explain why? That my
The
brother
same way
KG.
a Muslim is inspired by the prophecy of Islam and is inspired, the same way a Christian is inspired by the prophecy of Jesus Christ. Let's stick with the Muslims because the Muslims don't rock with Israel. What they got over there doing? They got a whole nother God over there. But guess what? What did the verse just say? Judgment is rendered against both parties. So you got the Israelites claiming to be representing Yahweh or Elohim or whoever deity they follow in the God of war. And then you got the Muslims over here like, nigga, jihad, nigga. We strap bombs to our body and blow up in the name of our God. What's good, nigga? That's what Islam is saying. Y'all niggas ain't doing that over there in Israel. But guess what? Both of you niggas is off. Both of you following false gods. Judgment is rendered against both parties who engage in warfare. And Israel engaged in warfare, the Muslims engage in warfare, and Christianity engaged in warfare. All you niggas is in judgment of the Creator, period. So you can learn prophecy the same way a Muslim could learn Islam, the same way a 5%er learn his 120 lessons. And he could be righteous and good in what he know. But does that make it the almighty truth from the Creator? Well, you got to examine the text, chapter and verse. We got to debate it out. We got to hash it out to know these things. That's why I call out the debate, the Oahspe verse, the Bible. So I can show and prove chapter and verse, and you go to chapter and verse, and we can see where the heads meet at. I just showed you that the Creator's against warfare. And the disconnect is that right there. You got the God of war bringing death and destruction, and we got Oahspe talking about don't engage in war because this brings affliction upon the angels in heaven.
Man, I got a good question for you right now. And this is going to be a question, you know what I'm saying, that I know, you know, that my fellow Hebrew is going to be wanting to ask. I watched a show you did, and it said we should have no fear of a God or the Most High, I believe you said. And I want to know, do we have any laws and commandments and statutes and judgments of breaking those? I think it's a pretty good question.
You said, do we have judgment for breaking the law, statutes, and commandments?
All right. Do we? All right. So since you said that we don't supposed to fear a God or the Most High, or
no. I don't think. I think you misunderstood what I said. I don't. If you could get that actually exactly how it was stated, so we could get clarity and not.
Well, you were saying that we shouldn't have to fear, like as if basically like
so when you say the Most High and God, those you know, the Most High is supposed to be the Creator, and God is a deity. So for me, that's two different things.
Right. So basically, like, you know, I think he was explaining how Christianity and you know, Islam and, you know, Hebrew Israelites, you know, seem to say, all right, if we break these laws, you know, we're gonna get punished. Like, so like we living in fear. And you were making you were saying the point that no God wants us to fear them. Right? Am I getting that right? So what I was asking was, is there any laws and commandments in the book and any judgment for breaking those?
Yeah, because the judgment, see, the Creator's ways is purity of diet, meaning don't eat no animals, no dead flesh. The service done unto others in righteousness and good works. Because Yahshua said, if you follow these two great commandments, the rest of the commandments fall under the umbrella. You ain't got to worry about 610 commandments if you follow these two, which was to love the Creator and treat your neighbor as you want to be treated. You follow those two, all the laws encompasses that. So we're going to stick with that. So the next thing is not to engage in warfare, not to murder. That's what the Creator laid out. So if you go against these things, the karma that comes upon you is the people you've slain. The spirits of the dead retaliate on you. We just read in the book, in the Oahspe, chapter 8, where it states that enemy shall take enemy in these my bound heavens. It states that when mortals engage in warfare, and when they cross over in spirit through the warfare, they're still fighting in spirit. So these are the commandments broken. Once you break those commandments, so if I knock you down in spirit, if I kill you, bam, you're gonna be like, yo, that's the dude who killed me. I'm dead, but I remember the dude who killed me. Then I cross over in spirit. Oh, there he go, and we engage. See, the Oahspe talks about the continuation of life after death on a whole nother scale. So breaking the commandments is basically bringing judgment upon yourself or upon your nation based off the injury done onto the people you're doing the injury to. So, for example, like God inspired the Israelites to go up in Canaan and kill. Why would he do that? when he just told you, thou shalt not murder. So that's a contradicting an action of the God. But if you stray from the Creator, long story short, if you stray from the commandments of the Creator, there's other inspiring spirits that can inspire you to go against and do basically break the laws. And the laws is basically simple laws, like I just described. Love thy neighbor as thyself, worship the Creator, purify of diet, service done unto others. That's the basis of the law.
Okay, so since
So
we
if you stray from that, if Jehovah, for example, if the Creator say don't eat meat, and you start eating meat, the judgment is sickness and disease that entails on your body for eating meat. So the judgment was rendered upon you for breaking the laws of thou shalt not eat meat. Just as a quick example to sum it up in a nutshell.
So since we're on, controversial and deep biblical breakdowns and doctrines, one thing I want to ask, pertaining still to what is considered the Old Testament, in the book of Ezra, it highlights that there was an entity by the name of Thoth. And I believe Thoth is an Egyptian deity, I believe, or from Atlantis, when I hear other forms of information. And it highlights that the books written by the prophet Ezra were actually inspired by the angels that Thoth employed, which was like 700,000 angels that was employed by Thoth to help Ezra and the scribes write the books that we have now. With that being said, according to the Oahspe, would these books then be considered null and void in the Bible because they were written by or inspired by what is considered false deities?
All right, so now you're talking about Thoth is Jabril. Jabril is Thoth, like so we're not talking about Thoth from Atlantis to Emerald Tablets. That's not the same Thoth. Thoth is Jabril, the same Jabril that came to Muhammad in the cave that inspired Islam, or the Muhammad. That's the same Jabril that they're talking about that inspired and was presiding over the Council of Nicaea. What they did, according to the Oahspe in the Council of Nicaea, is that they selected scrolls. That's why I say Bible means scrolls. They selected many scrolls from different parts of the world, which is Persia, Asia, Africa, Israel. They selected these. So we got these books laid out, and one book say, God said this, and this book say, God said this, and they united the books. They took and extrapolated and compiled one book. So that's what they did. So that's like me taking the story of Malcolm X, taking the story of Martin Luther King, and taking the story of goddamn Dr. Ben, and amalgamating them, putting them in one body. And now you're reading the book as one body, thinking this is one person, not knowing this story was selected from other stories. Same thing with the God. So, in one breath, God say, don't eat meat. But then in another breath, he's telling you the clean and unclean meats. So it's different gods talking at different times.
Right.
Depending on the scrolls that was selected to compile the text in the first place.
Now, do you have a book, chapter, and verse that actually says, because Jabril, to those who may not know, is Gabriel in other language. So
well, if you got the Oahspe, that's common knowledge. You're going to know that because it gives you the brackets and parentheses when it says thought, it'll say Jabril beside it. Things like that. Yeah. All right. Same thing like in the Oahspe, it got the prophet Zarathustra. Zarathustra precede Abraham. And the creator name is Armazd in the Oahspe. So it's showing you the names of the creator in other nations, but then it'll say in parentheses, it'll say Yahweh or Jehovah to let you know that it's the same deity. It's the same creator, not deity, but it's the same creator.
Right. And I only ask that because we have people watching who might not have a copy of the Oahspe.
I got you.
Google it, you know what I'm saying, on your spare time. But, you know how in the Israelite community, we like to go to book, verse, and chapter, not watching your videos. You do the same. I see you do the same also. You know what I'm saying? So that doesn't. So with that being said, Thoth is actually Gabriel, and he's giving the divine inspiration to Ezra, according to the Oahspe, with the books that we have also in the Bible that we have today. Then, correct?
Right. It's a collection of stories. The Bible, like the original Torah, the instructions according to the Bible was given by the finger of God to Moses on the tablets.
Right.
And there was the law. So that's all they had. By the time Ezra came, what Ezra did, he added to the Torah the story, the writings of the prophets. He added the story of creation, and he added this flood story. That's what Ezra added. And then by the time first century come, Mashiach Yeshua come, 60, 80 years after his death, they got these documents the New Testament, the oldest New Testament. The oldest Testament is the Q documents was the Gospel of Mark, and then everything was fashioned off of that. And then 300 years after that, you got Constantine compiling and establishing the doctrine as an authority. So the Bible's been compiled. They've been adding and taking away from the Bible damn near since the time of Ezra. So when somebody say you can't add or take away, that's been going on.
Now, I know you said that, really the faith is whoever believes in the Creator, but I do see a lot of information in there about the Israelites. I know you had read out that one of the tenets was to live as the ancient Israelites. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So with that being said, I see that it also gives the information about the false Christ and the real Yahshua, as it mentions in the Oahspe, or Yeshua, or Yahushua, as some may say, in there. Can you kind of expound on that?
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Like this is why people who read the Oahspe, know the Oahspe, look at those who try to clown the Oahspe, who never read it. We laugh at y'all because it ain't taking you away from being a chosen in the Oahspe. It ain't even taking you away from your Creator. The name is in the book of Jehovah, which is the Hebrew Yahweh. It ain't taking nothing away. Yahshua is in this motherfucker. Moses is in this motherfucker. You know what I mean? So saying that to say it ain't taking you away from nothing. It's clearing up the fact that it was deities assuming to be the Creator, and that's what the book is clearing up. That's what the disconnection is going to happen. That's why the debate with what I had with the other cat. The debate was differentiating God, and Lord, because in the Bible, all these are supposed to be the Most High, and these are different titles bestowed on angels in the heavenly kingdom. That's what I brought out to show and prove. And none of these the Most High. These are just angels in rulership in the heavenly kingdoms, no different than an earthly government.
SHALOM, I think the disconnect, or what, because we all have Israelite names in here, right? Then so you have, half the room saying that we're the chosen people. You have the other half of the room saying that the Most High don't deal with chosen people. That I guess there's no respect of a persons or whatever. That so I guess the Israelites, us that to believe that we the chosen people of the Most High. I guess we want to know, would there be any judgment for the white man, who obviously is the devil of the earth right now, so to speak, figuratively speaking.
doubt.
He has his foot on everybody's neck. It's oppression. We cannot close a blind eye to that. You know what I'm saying? We see that all over the earth. He's spreading diseases on purpose. He's put AIDS in Africa to his face. I mean, this man did so much, we could go on and on.
But but hold on, let me interject for a minute. Let me interject, because if you're gonna take it there, and if you're gonna be real with it, if you're gonna be real and take it there, if you're gonna deal with tribal warfare, carnal warfare, we got to be real with it. We've been committing genocide on each other long before the goddamn white man. Just on a fair playing ground as human beings, or mortal terrestrial beings. If you want to get technical, the 11 brothers was gonna kill Joseph. This is before the white man. These are brothers. When you read the story of Joseph, Judah, Levi, and Reed, they was going to kill Joseph and say an animal tore him. They sold his brother to the Midianites, and then he went to the Ishmaelites, and then he ended up in Egypt before Esau. So the hate that the brothers had for themselves and their own brother is the reason why the white man is on your ass today, because you broke the commandments of this according to the biblical belief. This is not my belief. This is their belief. Because in the Oahspe, man is man, period. Man, the northern tribes been warring with the southern tribes of Israel. The North Korea been warring with South Korea. Watutsis and the other tribe in Africa have been decimating each other. So when we talk about tribal warfare, every race been killing their own race and other races for thousands upon thousands of years. That's nothing new. So the Oahspe says this: I don't care what your creed or your race is. If you don't follow my instructions, you ain't gonna make it here. So you could be the chosen. That's just a vague term. Yeah, I'm the chosen. Yeah, so what? The Oahspe don't give a damn about you being called the chosen, but they describe the chosen. They talk about the chosen of people of Capilia, of India. They talk about the Zarathustrian followers was the chosen before Abraham. See that? A lot of the Zarathustrian customs is found in the Hebraic custom. The Zarathustra came with the concept of one God, one creator, before Abraham, before Moses. So it's like, for those who know the Oahspe, these questions is kind of irrelevant to the progression, but we will answer them. Don't get it twisted. This is why I call for debates, so we could get to the nitty-gritty chapter and verse and go directly and show and prove. I'm just vaguely speaking. This is an interview, so I'm not going chapter and verse right now. I'm just throwing it out there. So if whoever feel they want to take the bait, come up with a topic, and then we narrow it down and get detail to that topic. And make
let me piggyback off of what the question I just asked. Who are white people according to the Oahspe, and are they from this planet or another planet? That was a question somebody had.
All human beings are from the planet. The way you could tell every human being is from the planet is your physical makeup. In creation, there's three things that are principal in creation: the periodic table of elements, which is the physical makeup of everything in creation, seen and unseen; the electromagnetic spectrum, which is the vibrational frequency of everything in creation, seen and unseen; and the pH scale, which is the balance of life that deals with the inhabitable time of a planet. So every human being is from the planet because our skin is carbon-based. The European skin is carbon-based as well. The reason it's pale skin is because they have a less concentration of carbon, and we have a greater concentration of carbon. That's why our skin, a dark person, is because they have a great concentration of carbon in the skin. And the reason why a European is pale skin is because they have a lack of carbon in the skin. So we're dealing with the periodic table of elements, because that's the physical makeup of human beings. Your blood is iron. Your skin is carbon, copper. Your bones is calcium. See, we get to the science. That's why we don't get caught up in nationality and chosen, because we deal with the science of creation outside of the indoctrination of religion.
The brother Matthew said they control.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I will say the brother Matthew said they controlled by reptilians.
Well, I know that school of thought as well. I interviewed a sister. You can go on my page. It's an interview I did called Black
I think he got it from off your page.
Yeah,
I think he got it from off your page.
Yeah. I interviewed a lady who great aunt killed the reptilian in Mississippi in the 50s. Documented. I asked that lady 3 times at different times to tell that story, and she told it the exact same way every time. Because I test the spirit to see if it's true or not, and I can tell when somebody's genuinely truthful about something, or they got an agenda or scheme. Because when you're pure and truth about what you do, you could pick it up, you could detect it. So I would, I'm not the type to say yay or nay. The Creator got creations that we don't know. We didn't investigate this whole planet. They ain't even fully investigate the Congo and Africa in the jungle because it's so thick out there. But then you look at the Ubaid period, 4000 BC, fourth millennium BC, in Iraq. You see the reptilian being breastfed with the baby. That's the Ubaid period in Iraq, 4th millennium BC. You see the breast, you see the baby with the breast being fed, and it's a reptilian woman. And then you see that same image with the baby being fed with Isis and Haru. But the one with the reptilian precedes that, just throwing that out there. But who's to say? I'm not out there vouching for it. And the white man came from another constellation. The white man is an offshoot of the indigenous people.
So you also said that the story of Noah is not accurate and exact to how we know it. Can you explain that whole situation? Because I heard it on the video, but I thought it was very interesting because the place was called Pan that was actually destroyed, and the whole breakdown of how it destroyed. Can you kind of give an example, or should I say explain how that happened and, just the whole meaning of it?
And before you answer, while you answer that question, I had a question with that question. It just goes perfectly along. He might as well answer both of them at the same time.
You good. Go ahead, Kate.
What was the story of Noah's flood in the book? But you can answer his story, his part of the story first.
All right. In the Oahspe.
In the Oahspe.
They got something called the timetables of prophecy. The timetables of prophecy is a chart that lays out the timeline from the creation of man to where we at in our present day. And this time period is charted out in 3,000-year periods. And they have sub-cycles within this 3,000-year periods, 400-year cycles. So now, for each arc cycle, it comes with the name. Matter of fact, let me read a verse so you can get an idea. Although this is just an interview, we just spitting, but I throw a couple verses out there so you can understand how the book read. So this is the synopsis of 16 cycles. Chapter 1, I'm gonna read from chapter 1 to chapter 4. This is giving you a breakdown of the timetables of prophecy as far as time measurement. Now, it says, first, the earth plieth in a circuit around the sun, which circuit is divided into 4 arcs called spring, summer, autumn, and winter. 4 arcs. Verse 2. Second, the sun with his family, meaning the solar system, plieth in a large circuit, which is divided into 1,600 arcs. The distance for which of each arc is about 3,000 years, or 1 cycle. Verse 3. Now they're going to talk about what takes place during a cycle of 3,000 years. During a cycle, the earth and her heavens fall under the Etherian regions of hundreds of Etherian worlds, where dwell Yahweh's high-raised angels, whose chief have to do with the management of worlds. Verse 4. During the time of a cycle, the earth is therefore under the control and management of such of Jehovah's angels for the resurrection of man on earth. Verse 5. At the time of the creation of man, the earth was traveling in the ark of Wan, where dwelt thousands of Orion chiefs with thousands of millions of high-raised angels. So right here is giving you a description of a cycle. The sun goes through a cycle of 1,600 arc cycles with measures at distance of 3,000 years. And at the beginning of every arc cycle, these Etherian angels deal with the management of worlds for that arc cycle. So the purpose, all right, coming to the flood now, I almost lost train of thought. So coming to the flood, these 3,000 year periods is how you measure time. So from the creation of man, it was called the Ark of Wan. And then you got the second arc cycle after the creation of man. And then you got the third arc cycle after the creation of man. So, and for each arc, there's a name. By the time we get to the 17th arc cycle after the creation of man, it was called the Ark of Noah. And it was in that arc cycle that the sinking of the continent of Pan, which was located in the Pacific Ocean, is known as the Deluge. What you got in your Bible as the flood, it was the sinking of a continent called Pan that was located in the Pacific Ocean. And that took place from the first arc cycle to the 17th arc cycle at 3,000 year increments, which gives you a total of 48,000 years. So from the creation of man to the flood in the Ark of Noah is 48,000 years. From the Ark of Noah to where we at present day, the Ark of Cosmon, is another 24,000 years. So Oahspe renders a time scale of history based off 3,000 year periods and the events that took place within those time periods. So the flood would be a big account if it was true. So they do have the flood account in the Oahspe, but it's the sinking of a continent in the Ark of Noah. And the people that survived were 12,420 people that survived the flood. And the story you have in the Bible about the flood comes from a false god by the name of Enu-Hassaj, who styled himself Lord God in heaven. And he's the one who gave you Noah as a person. And those became the records of the Epic of Gilgamesh. And any flood account you have on the earth, as far as dealing with a man in a boat, surviving all the animals, that came from a false account. But the Oahspe has the genuine account as far as what transpired with the flood. So if I was to ask somebody, when was the flood? Because they'll tell you that Adam was 6,000 years ago. So from 6,000 years ago was the old kingdom of Egypt. Oahspe say the flood was 24,000 years ago. So it shows you the scale and the magnitude and the difference of time periods.
Come on. So Adam to Noah really are just names of cycles.
Well, not yeah, right. Yeah, you using Adam because Adam's supposed to be the first creation.
Right.
So when Adam was created, every 3,000 years are the increments. And these 3,000 years are numbered and named. So you got the first arc cycle, the Ark of Wan, then you got the second arc cycle, the Ark of such and such, and so on. So like, for example, right now we're in the 25th arc cycle after the creation of man called the Ark of Cosmon.
Okay.
The time of Moshe was the 24th arc cycle from 1553 BC or 53 BC to 1848 AD. That was the length of the 24th arc cycle, the Ark of Ban. And then prior to that, you had the 23rd arc cycle. You know what I mean? And so forth coming back down the line. So you know, if you see my videos, you see the time chart that I got rendered out where it shows you the time period laid out. That's based off the timetables of prophecy. So when people talk about do the Oahspe got prophecy, it has a whole layout of prophecy, not prophecy specifically dealing with one person, but the cosmological prophecy dealing with the whole creation from man's inhabitation to his extinction from the planet.
So, and you know, the brother Sadat got a question, but you kind of said something that the brother Roan kind of asked earlier when he was talking to you, was what makes the Oahspe, you know, pretty much, I guess, believable. He didn't use those words, but I'm paraphrasing. And, you know, according to us and our community, which you already know, you studied, and, you know, we all identify as Israel to some extent, that what makes the book a living book is not the history, but more so the prophecy that was told from the end, about the end from the beginning. So, you know, when we look at the prophecies, this is the thing that brings the book to life to us, because in the end times, as we believe, we see prophecies coming, you know, full force. Like the brother K. Judas said, a lot of brothers is waking up to the truth. You know, we attribute that to, you know, it says in the last days, knowledge will increase. You know, his people will be called by a name that they weren't called by in the last days, and they, you know, they'll come back into remembrance. So you said that the Oahspe has prophecy in there, and I believe that kind of touches on what he was asking you earlier. So before I pass over, I got one more question just pertaining to that with the prophecy thing. You know, we believe that judgment is coming upon the planet, and depending on who you learn from or who you listen to, we believe the sky going to crack and there's going to be a nuclear war, and that God's people are going to be taken out of their places of captivity and sent into the wilderness. Is there any account in the Oahspe that kind of reflects this, or no?
Well, like I say, the prophecy in the Oahspe, like I said, it lays out the timetables of prophecy. So specific things that's going to happen to people. Yeah, I can read a verse in the Oahspe where it talk about the people of Moses is going to come to America. That's prophetic. You know what I mean? It says that in the Oahspe that the Israelites going to come to America. It actually say that in there. You see what I'm saying? And then it talks about how in the book of Jehovah's Kingdom on Earth, the downfall of America. So it's like, what validates the book, like I said to the brother before, you got to read it. It's like, in order, the way y'all knew the prophecies in the Bible, you had to read it. So by reading it and then cross-reference it, you can make your own assessment. And if the Oahspe wasn't what it was, people wouldn't be getting it the way they're getting it, because they see in a revelation. It's more to than, like you say, the judgment. Like, if you read the Book of Wars Against Jehovah, there were prophecies made then about this God going to rise up and conquer the people, and you see what I'm saying? So it's not like something that we focus on, because prophecy being fulfilled is just something that's taken. Like if I was to say, you know, in the next 3-4 months, the trees will begin to weather and it'll begin to get cold. It's because winter coming, because we know the cycles and seasons, and we could prophesy based off how we know the cycles and seasons based off observation. So the Oahspe has prophetic times as far as, like I said, cosmological as a whole scale. You know what I mean? It talks about the ending of the planet, the dissipation of a planet. It talks about when worlds are inhabited, and then it talks about when worlds are dissipated, when mortals become extinct. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, it talks about prophecies in that sense, prophetic times overall, when you understand the cycles of creation. But to say, like, I can read you prophecies of the false gods where they're talking about making a second coming and they're going to goddamn go to war, just like in Revelations. I can show you that, but those are from the false gods. You know, the prophecies of the Creator is dealing with his seasons and cycles of creation. The rising, like, all right, let me give you an example.
While you're getting that, the reason I ask these questions is because there's a lot of doctrines within the community, and you know, a lot of us have certain things that we hold as tenets. So I just wanted you to highlight, you know, those things in the Oahspe for the brothers and sisters in the Israelite community that have questions pertaining to various doctrines. So I don't want it to sound like it's redundant, but it's just trying to
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. All right. So they asked about prophecy. the Oahspe lays out the timetables of prophecy based off of 3,000-year periods. It's called the rise and fall of nations within 3,000 years. And these events and these cycles repeat itself. So, for example, this is in the book of cosmogony and it's a whole book called Cosmogony and Prophecy in the Oahspe. But it don't read like how you think what prophecy is, because this is a creation prophecy. This is a prophecy from the Creator on how cycles and worlds are ran as a whole instead of dealing with the Pacific area. So, for example, in the book of Cosmogony and Prophecy, chapter 7, right? If we start at, let me see. All right, let me see. All right, let's start. You know what? Let's start at verse 1. We got time, right? So check it. I want you to see how this reads. Verse 1. Have showing the impossibilities of philosophies based on corporeal knowledge to demonstrate truth in regard to the unseen things, in regard to the planet's disturbance from the earth. It becometh a part of these revelations to put the student in the way to learn from the unseen forces which govern all corporeal things, man included, as a general and important part. Verse 2. When a heavy stone falleth on a man and holdeth him down, it is sufficient to say the stone ruled over the man. If an epidemic come upon a city because of uncleanness, it is well to consider that cause as well. Nevertheless, if an epidemic be periodical to a certain city, see that do with certain prophecies to a particular people, even which is not unclean, it is wise to prophesize an unseen cause. The same rules apply in comparing one locality with another. Verse 3. In certain regions of the earth, certain diseases are common. In certain times of the earth, as to cycles of 3,000 years, certain diseases were common. In certain places of the earth, men have at times, thousands of years ago, attained to great knowledge and virtue, but his whole country in after centuries become a wilderness. Verse 4. It is not the place of a prophet to answer these things by the accusation of ignorance of war. The prophet must account for the tendency of man to fall into ignorance and into war. In other words, he must find the cause of causes. Verse 5. At certain periods of time for hundreds of years let me read that back. A certain period of time for hundreds of years, nations have dwelt in peace and have risen in virtue, then turn to war within themselves and go down in death. Verse 6. The prophet of old divided time into 2 cycles of 3,000 years with slight variations. And they found that at such periods of time, some certain impulses came upon the people, causing them to try to be better and wiser, even as the same feeling is this day manifesting itself in many nations. Verse 7. The scale then rises for 400 years, more or less. And after that, wars and epidemic come upon the people. They begin to decline, especially in virtue and peace. But the general intelligence suffers little for about another 600 or 700 years, after which time they destroy their libraries and records and reduce themselves to ignorance and vice. Then follows a darkness of 1,000 years or more, with slight intermissions. And in another 600 years, the corporeal senses, intellect, begin to ascend. Self-conceit come upon them, and they think they're at the beginning of wisdom on earth. Then cometh another cycle of light, angels descending from the unseen worlds. New revelations crop out in every quarter. Inspirations come upon mortals, and they go to the opposite extreme, superstition and obedience to unseen influence. Verse 8. Such then is the general character and behavior of a man during a cycle, and he rises and falls in these particulars as regular as the tides of the ocean. So right here is showing you that there are revelations within 3,000-year periods where the nations rise and fall and the cycles repeat. So it talked about 1,000 years of darkness. So it's just giving you a relevance of what takes place with man within an arc cycle of 3,000 years.
Con. Hey, brother Sadak, you got it?
Yeah. I'm gonna swing it a little bit here, man. It's kind of like hinging upon where he just read right there in that book of Cosmogony. Well, I wanted to touch on 2nd Esdras chapter 14 and verse 21. I I believe I was watching one of the brothers SELAH Shalom video, and they had somebody else on the show. I think it was Cal P. Cal P, if you're on here, you probably know what I'm talking about, brother, because y'all was going heavy on that second Esdras 14, where it's talking about the law is burnt, right? So where is that? Yeah. Can we do some textual comparison in the Oahspe, speaking on second Esdras chapter 14, and I believe verse 21 on down? I mean, I know you probably real familiar with that text.
You talking about in Ezra, in the book of Ezra?
Yeah, second Esdras.
I don't have the apocrypha with me.
All right, where it says, "For thy
you
law."
Read it, though, you can read it.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it real quick. It says, "For thy law is burnt, therefore no man knoweth the things that are done of thee, or the works that shall begin. But if I have found grace before thee, send the Holy Ghost into me, and I shall write all that hath been done in the world since the beginning, which were written in thy law, that men may find thy path, and that they which will live in the latter days may live." I was wondering if I can get a little bit.
Yeah, so right there, that's proof. That's proof that they're about to compile a new text. Because he said, I'm going to reveal to you the things of old. Now, who is the deity talking? They'll say, oh, that's Elohim, that's Yah. They'll just vaguely say that.
Right.
But that's a deity. We're not dealing with the creator. Oahspe shows you that deity that Cana got daggone Ezra is the same deity that showed Constantine a cross in the sky in the vision. That's the beautiful thing about the Oahspe. It reveals things that are hidden. So the false gods in the Oahspe is totally exposed. So if I did something that it was supposed to be hidden and a nigga exposed it, I'm out. I'm like, damn, I can't use that deception no more. You see what I'm saying? So I'm going to read, because Ezra, according to the Oahspe, was inspired by the false Christ or the false god Luamung. And I'm going to read a verse where it shows that Luamung inspired Ezra to compile the Tanakh. Luamung inspired Constantine to compile. I mean, he was the presider of the Council of Nicaea. Council of Nicaea. So yeah, Luamung and the Oahspe is a cold-blooded dude, Joe. He did a lot of people today are under his inspiration, thinking they under the Most High.
Where you going in Oahspe so I can follow along with that?
Yeah, all right. Let me get that. Hold up. Let me get me and Ezra. All right, we in the book. Let me get that for you. It's definitely in the book of Ezra, but I just got to find a chapter and verse real quick. You have to go to the beat up book just to make sure. You know, your old Bibles, that's the one where you can just go straight to it. All right, that's Yeshua's going to come before Yeshua. You know what? Let me go to my old book. So I'm going to go straight to the thing there, yeah? All right. Hold tight.
While he finding it, because the reason I brought that up is like we keep in the law, statutes, command, but right here it say that if this book is burnt, where he read at in the book of cosmogony is where like all of these cycles come in, these things change, and these men, we start doing things over again. Like I forgot what it said.
Right. Now, like the time of Ezra was during the 24th arc cycle after the creation of man. The 24th arc cycle was from 1553 BC to 1848 AD. That's the length of the 24th arc cycle, and within that sub-cycle or arc cycle is the time of Yeshua, Moshe, and all that. So now I found the verse. Let me get to it. So this is in the book of Ezra, chapter 41, chapter 41. You know, it's written in Roman numerals. So for those who ain't familiar with Roman numerals, it's XLI, and we're gonna scoot down. I'm gonna start at verse 25, and I'm gonna stop at verse.
What chapter?
41. XLI.
All right.
Let me know when you get there, and I'll start reading.
All right. Go ahead. Got it.
All right. So we're gonna start. You know how we like to do. We like to read up like a verse or two, and then bring it down to.
Yeah.
All right. So cool. So let me start with verse 25. Hold on. Let me put the light on. All right, so check it. Verse 25. Now to give you a time period, because I like to deal with time periods. I just don't like to just throw things out there and we just don't know where we at in time. So this time period is basically dealing with 5th, 6th, 4th century BC, around that time, around a little after the captivity, during the time of Ezra, basically the time of Ezra, 4th century BC. So check it. Right, verse 25. Baal, the same Canaanite Baal still maintained an army of 3,000 million angel warriors, and he established himself in the city of Rome, in Hydeas, that is Constantinople, now you know, but used most of his army as rambling marauders. Verse 26. Now, when Luamung, this is the false god Luamung, beheld that the other two true ones, Trinity gods, had taken new names falsely, and that they had gained power thereby, he resolved to adopt for himself the name Lord Adonai and God, El. Verse 27. Now where it says Thought, that's Jabril. So Thought, aka Jabril, his chief warrior angel, fighting against Baal, the Canaanite Baal, had said, Most holy truant, I must give mortals a name to fight for. The term Holy Ghost is not potent. So verse 28. So Luamung falsely assumed to be God of heaven. God, the Lord God of heaven and earth. Verse 29. And he said to Thought, Jabril, go tell mortals, I am the same who wrought wonders for the Israelites. And forsooth, the Israelites will fight for me. And that's exactly what the brother read, because Ezra was already in the thorns of Luamung, the false god, who what the brother just read, when they talk about, the laws are destroyed, now I'm gonna write what I tell you. That was Luamung through Jabril. So verse 30 states, Thought Jabril did this. And furthermore, Luamung inspired one, Ezra, to gather all the records he could to be proof of his labor for the Israelites. Verse 31, to accomplish this, Thought alias Gabriel employed 700,000 angels to be with Ezra, and the numerous scribes whom Ezra employed. And by their inspiration were the books of the Ezra Bible written, which is the Tanakh, and compiled, according to the commandments of Luamung. And they were thus compiled, 72 books, and they were put on file in the king's libraries in Jerusalem, after the manner in which the ancients preserve important records of events. And these books were named by Ezra the Holy Libraries, a Holy Bible, or what we know as the Tanakh. Verse 30 and verse 32. But of all these, not one book was inspired of Yahweh or his son, true God of heaven and earth. Nevertheless, there were many things written, there were many things within them that were of Jehovah and his angels. Howbeit, though they were put on record by men and interpreted by men. Verse 33, Luamung in this thing sinneth not against Jehovah, for he did not cause his name Luamung to be made worshipful. But then later on, we could show that he used the term Christ, and then that's when he became a false Christ in heaven. But the Oahspe is showing you that the Ezra Bible was compiled and inspired by Luamung the false Christ. And it stated that this wasn't inspired by Yahweh. It stated in the Oahspe.
Right.
So what the brother just read in Ezra confirms what the Oahspe is saying, because now the records were destroyed. He got to listen to this God, talk to him, and rewrite creation. So that's why I said the creation story you got in the Bible is from the time of Ezra, post captivity.
Right. That was well done right there, man. That explained a lot, and I wanted to see that textual comparison in the Oahspe versus the Apocrypha or the King James Version Bible right there, because I don't think that verse right there really is expounded upon as far as I'm pretty sure precepts on that, this, that, and the third will go to your basic, precepts to break that down. But I just wanted the people to see the comparison in the Oahspe for a second. If anybody had any questions or was wondering about 2nd Esdras 14:21 concerning the law being burnt.
Right.
So all praise. Thank you, brother.
And at that time period, it was a battle going on in heaven with the gods. And the battle was between the god Baal that ended up gaining inspiration over the Israelites, and the female goddess Ashtaroth. That was a dominant goddess in Mesopotamia. They were beefing, and they brought their beef down to the earth. That whole captivity, it ain't had nothing to do with the Most High. It had something to do with two deities beefing, and one got the best of the other. And we know who got the best of the other because we went into captivity.
All right.
Goes into that.
Hey, I think, brother, yeah, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. I think another brother got a question. If hey Zadok, you wanna moderate here real quick, brother?
Khan, Kuz Mikhail, you got a comment, a question? I think that's brother Shalom, homie. But yeah, I got some questions
out there.
Go ahead, brother.
Peace, man. ASIO, shalom to you brothers, man.
Shalom, brother. Shalom.
This is a great build. This is a great build, man. And we're gonna and just so y'all know, the Creator is undefeated, man. We got to get back into loving each other. But the overtone that I'm hearing from my Israelite brothers, right? What it seems to be is they want to know if this includes them. If they have the ideal that their God is the Creator, and and we know that the Israelites praise the Creator and then got away from it at a time, is it now coming back and is Oahspe new revelation? It's not the end revelation. It's just new revelation. He told Yeshua that the kingdom is at hand.
Right.
Well, this is the explanation of the kingdom. I want to first of all let me explain something to you, brothers, man. Oahspe on the cover. You ain't got to go no further than the cover. It says it is a primary source for spiritual spiritual inclination, and is the only source on earth that is one. Nobody shows you how to progress in the higher heavens and the lower heavens. But I want to allude the fears or dispel the fears of my Israelite brothers.
Matter of fact, Cal P, let me do this real quick.
Go ahead.
Let me run down the doctrine of Yeshua that he laid in the Oahspe.
Come on.
So that'll
and I'm gonna follow him with this.
Right, because most people today is followers of Yeshua. So Yeshua is in the Oahspe.
That's right.
And he laid down a doctrine of Yeshua and his death in the Oahspe. So we're just going to read a couple verses of the doctrine of Yeshua. So check this.
And hold on.
Go ahead, Ken. Go ahead.
Yeshua, let them know what Yeshua is coming to do. He is coming to revise the Mosaic law.
That's right. Exactly.
This is what he's doing. Go ahead. Go talk to him, brother.
All right. So this is in the book of Ezra, chapter 44, starting from verse 1. Now it says, God said. Now, when it says God said, for those who read the Oahspe, we understand that that's the rightful ruler of heaven and earth, true God, the one sitting on the throne like the president. So this is not the creator. This is the rightful ruler talking in behalf of the creator. So we understand that distinction. So now, God said, these were my doctrines as I taught through Yeshua. And it actually says Joshua in the Oahspe. Now, before I read the verse, I want to put this point of contention. In the Bible, it has the book of Joshua, which is the English rendition of Yeshua. If the New Testament was right and exact, Jesus would be saying Joshua and not Jesus, and the burden is in the book of Joshua, because Joshua is the English rendition of Yeshua. So Jesus wouldn't even be needed. They should have used Joshua. But now in the Oahspe, they do say Joshua, just for the record. So verse 1, God said, these were my doctrines as I taught through Yeshua. Verse 2, thou shalt keep the 10 commandments of Moses. All right, so ain't no disconnect there. Verse 3, thou shalt not engage in war, nor abet war. We have a problem because your Bible talks about going to war. Yeshua's doctrine say, don't engage in war. Turn the other cheek. Now you see what we're saying. Verse 3, thou shalt not engage in war, nor abet in war. Verse 4, thou shalt eat no flesh of any animal whether it be fish, bird, fowl, or creeping things which Jehovah created alive. Yahshua is saying no flesh and blood. So we got following the 10 Commandments of Moses. So far, we got don't engage in warfare, meaning don't kill, and then we got don't eat as animals. Purity, all three right here. Ain't nothing unrighteous yet. Verse 5. Those shall dwell in families, communities, after the manner of the ancient Israelites, who held all things in common. Verse 6. Those shall have no king, nor queen, nor bow down in worship to any except thy creator. No kings, no queens. Ain't no King David recognition over here. Ain't no King Solomon recognition. We acknowledge the creator only. That's what Yahshua was saying. Verse 7. Those shall not call on the name of angels to worship them, nor to consult with them on the affairs of earth. Verse 8. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, and do unto thy fellow man as thou wouldst have him done unto you. See that? Verse 9. Thou shalt return good for evil, and pity them that sin. Verse 10. It hath been said, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But I say, return good for evil. Y'all familiar with this? Verse 11. And if a man smite thee on one cheek, turn the other unto him also. Verse 12. The man shall have but one wife, and the woman but one husband. Oh, Yahshua is against polygamy right here. He said one wife, one husband. He's not against it, but he's just instructing you one wife, one husband. So now, verse 13, as the children honor the father, so will the family be blessed with peace and love, peace and plenty. Verse 14, remember that all things are of Yahweh, and ye are his servants to help one another. Verse 15, and as much as ye do these services to one another, so serve ye Yahweh, Jehovah. See that the service to none others is the service of the Creator. Verse 16, behold, only the virtue and wisdom in thy neighbor, his fault thou shalt not discover. Only see the goodness in your man. Don't worry about the negative. See your man in righteousness. That's what he's saying. Verse 17, his matter are with the Creator. So you can't dictate to your man. That's between it. Just see the goodness in your man. You see a crackhead, don't constantly pound him for being a crackhead. See the goodness in him, and eventually he'll come out that situation. And then serve and help your brother in those situations, right? All right, so cool. So check this. Here's where we're going to differentiate again. Verse 17. Verse 18. Call not on the name of any God, El Elohim, or Lord, Adonai, in worship, but worship Jehovah Yahweh only. Yahshua in the Oahspe is saying, don't call on El Elohim. Don't call on Adonai, Lord. Call on Yahweh only. No partners. Y'all say Yahweh Elohim. Elohim is a title, a deity. So you just deified the Creator by attaching Elohim to Yahweh. What did the Oahspe say in verse 18? Call not on the name of El Elohim or Adonai in worship, but worship Yahweh only. Verse 19, and when thou prayest, let it be after this manner. And verse 20 is basically the Our Father prayer. And then verse 22, let me scoot down. Thou shalt take no part in the governments of men, but observe the will of Yahweh, being obedient unto all governments for his sake. Verse 23, all men are the children of one Father, who is Yahweh, and whosoever chooseth him and keepeth his commandment is his chosen. Y'all want to talk about the chosen? It says if you keep his commandment, you're the chosen. But if you don't keep his commandment, you can't be the chosen. Verse 25, contend not with any man for opinion's sake, nor for earthly things. Verse 26, and let thy speech be for others' joy, or open not thy mouth if thy words will give pain. Verse 27, therefore be considerate of thy speech, teaching others by gentleness and love to be respectful towards all men. Verse 28, preserve the sacred days of the rabbi and the righteous ceremonies of Emetha Shevet, which is the order of faiths. So now right here, Oahspe, the doctrine of Yahshua in Oahspe is against warfare. So when y'all talk about the second coming and Jesus coming to do warfare, nigga, he's against warfare. He's not going against the words of the Creator here. Told you the Creator don't deal with bloodshed. The Creator didn't require no blood animal sacrifice. Your false gods gave you that, and your false gods doctrine is in your Bible, and you thinking this false God is the Most High, and we exposing consistent information from the Oahspe that the Creator's chosen don't deal with bloodshed. We read you the judgment of warfare for those who engage in warfare. Both parties. Ain't no chosen if both parties is involved in getting judged by the creator. When you was in high school and you got into a fight and you sit before the principal ain't looking like who won. Both parties are in trouble, huh? While both parties trying to explain their side to the principal ain't hearing that shit. He like, nigga, both of you niggas is in trouble. I don't give a fuck if you threw the first punch or he threw the first punch. That's how the creator is presiding over his goddamn children.
Correct.
Talk to me.
Gone.
Correct.
Interesting.
And also another thing I hear that the brother was bringing up was he had an idea of how do you prove Oahspe? You dig what I'm talking about? First and foremost, you must read it.
That's the proof.
But then Oahspe explains, listen, on the very first page, we ain't gotta go nowhere. On the very first page, it say, let's just go on the very first page. When a man holds up a book and says, you must believe this because it says, thus says the Lord, should we not pity that man? Does he comprehend the liberty of man to acquire knowledge? Any book that imparts knowledge of life and destiny of man is a good book. Any book that unfolds the character and person of the creator and the wonder and glory of his creation is a good book. But when a book gives information of things we know not of, it should also give us the method of proving that information to be true. This book, Oahspe, covers that ground. That the day has arrived when man will not just accept proclamations and assertions.
That's right.
He wants plausible reasons or substantial proofs, excuse me, that the authority not be merely a pretense, but a demonstrable fact. The time of man worship or God worship is at an end. Readers no longer accept a book as good and great merely because any certain one wrote it. A book must have certain merits of its own, otherwise it will soon pass out of existence. When a man says, I heard the voice of Jehovah saying, that part of the speech is worthless. When it say, I heard the voice of Jehovah saying, that part is worthless. When a man says, I heard the voice of Jehovah saying, do unto others as ye would have them do unto you, then those words become valuable. His assertion of his authority is of no avail in this age in the world. The words purporting to be Jehovah's should therefore be the only consideration as to merit. And all men have the right to pass judgment thereon. Is it not the light of Jehovah within all men, or is it not the light of the Creator within all men that makes them conscious of wisdom and truth? If so, then man's expression of any truth or wisdom is Jehovah's expression. If a book were to listen, if a book were to fall from the sky with the Creator's signature to it, man would not accept the book on that account alone. Why then should anything be said about how this book was written? It blows nobody's horn. It makes no leader. It is not a destroyer of old systems or religions. As a matter of fact, it reveals a new one adapted to this age. The very first page. This is showing the difference in the level of information if you ever pick it up and read it. But to my Hebrew brothers, to my Jewish brothers, to my Israelite brothers, to the Essenes, peace to the Essenes and the Nazarenes and the true Israelites out there. You dig what I'm talking about? This is the book of judgment, chapter 5. And the heading of it is of the Jews. So listen up. Hear the words of thy God, O Israel. Hold on. Let me back it up one more time. Hear the words of thy God, O Israel. Shut not thyself up against the wisdom of thy elder brother, God of heaven and earth. You see the difference? We know God is a man. true God works for Yahweh, the creator.
That's right. Tell him.
Hear the words of thy God, O Israel. Shut not thyself up against the wisdom of thy elder brother, God of heaven and earth. He is an elder brother. So that means he had to die and he had to raise to a rank and a position in the title. But let's go further. Nor magnify thou the ancient days above the present. So what was happening in, don't be stuck on what's going on over there so much, or they got a saying, don't be so spiritually high raised that you know earthly good. You dig what I'm talking about? So, nor magnify thou the ancient days above the present, nor feign and say, thy God has gone away to come no more forever. Behold, thou hast gone forth like a little man to battle against a giant. With thy sling, thou hast smitten him with thy one stone, which is the creator. Thou wast encompassed on all sides by a multiplicity of gods. One by one thou hast overcome them and cast them out. The giant of the great beast is religion. It is Buddhism, Brahmanism, Christianity, and Islam. It is the beast that is mentioned in your revelations. The giant of the great beast, religion, the false gods, lieth dead and cold at thy feet. The nations of the earth cry out. There is but one great spirit, Yahweh. And I declare unto thee, O Israel, the voice of the I am is not gone from the earth. Through the seed of the faithless have I held up the Father's kingdom. By the voice of my beloved, founded him in all nations of the earth. Thy enemy exalted, saying, behold, they are a scattered people, but thy God profited in thy footsteps. And in the words of thy mouth, there is but one great spirit, Yahweh. And I have provided unto thee after the manner of thy forefathers a place to inhabit, where thou shalt no longer pay tribute to the gods of the idolaters. Come thou out of the darkness and despotism, and inherit the wilderness of this land of America. And they shall bloom as new paradise before thy hand. But because thou hast accomplished the one ever present, behold, thou shalt no longer be an exclusive people, but thou shalt suffer thy sons and daughters to commingle with the faithless of all the races and tribes of men. But notice they said the faithless, the Israelites, the Essenes, the Nazarenes of all the races and tribes of men. And thou shalt forsake the ways of the world and go and live after the manner of thy forefathers in colonies, without kings or rulers, serving none but the Creator. And thy people shall hold all things in common, being neither rich nor poor, master nor servant. And thou shalt call out to the idolater, saying, come into my house and be one with me. Behold, there is but one Creator. Thou art my brother. And it shall come to pass unto thee, O Israel. Let's not forget who we're talking to. The way of thy people shall be open, and they shall be delivered out of the bound kingdoms of the east. Because for 2,000 years thou hast not.
Hey, they told about ain't no prophecy. You reading prophecy now.
Right now. You are the living proof of prophecy in today, right now. Listen, because for 2,000 years thou hast not gone forth with the sword to possess any new country and establish thyself. Thou art glorified before thy God because you didn't go to war. Because of thy long suffering, because of thy long suffering, thou shalt find through the light of, let me turn the page, through the light of my kingdoms. Behold, a new cycle is upon the earth. Thy people shall find proof of these my words. My angels will come into the houses of my people, and they shall talk with them face to face. Think not that this book is my only revelation in this day. This just the first time. This ain't even the fruit. This the juice of the fruit. Think not that this book is my only revelation in this day. Within thine house, O Israel, shalt thou prepare unto the voice of thy God. For I will raise up many seers and prophets among you. So it ain't gonna be just one Abba. It ain't gonna be just one Yeshua. It ain't gonna be just one Moses. It's gonna be millions. Okay.
Right.
Hold on. For I will raise up many seers and prophets amongst thy people, and they shall testify to my words on all sides. Judge thou not, O Israel, who are apostates before thy God. I say unto thee, he that forsaketh Jehovah and worship Mammon, the gods, money, lower, anything, and the ways of the world is an apostate in my sight. So, hold on. For even though they maintain the rites and ceremonies, they have forsaken the spirit and truth of my commandments. What? Whereas many who have forsaken the rites and ceremonies in search of higher light are more in the way of Jehovah. What? So you're so worried about being chosen, but have you chose?
And you could have literally read them last two verses because that was the meat of it right there.
I'm gonna give it to him. But I'm gonna go back. Let's start at 23 again. Whereas many who have forsaken the rites and ceremonies in search of higher light are more to the way of the Creator. Do they not indeed keep the rites and ceremonies, but drink to drunkenness and eat to gluttony, feasting on flesh, wherefrom they have taken life? And they engage in selling wine and in dealing in stocks after the manner of the idolater, whilst thy forefathers were scrupulous to labor and bring forth out of the earth wherewith to feed and clothe man. And they say, God prospered me. Don't they? Ain't that what it say? Ain't that what my people say? This is why we gotta wake up. This is why it's not personal. We keep our foot on the neck of the gods because it's the gods who lead the people astray.
That's right.
You dig what I'm talking about? And because of that, wait. Okay. And they say, God prospered me, wherein they falsify me and blaspheme the Creator in his kingdoms. I say unto thee, they are prospered by Shaitan, and their prosperity is the wages of bondage in heaven. And because of their wickedness, they have led my people to disbelieve in my judgments and the plans of my kingdoms. For which reason, more are they apostatized in my sight than such are as good who say there is no God. So for the people who are hypocritical to the doctrine, you dig what I'm talking about? A man who actually does good but says there is no God, being atheist, is more in the line of the Creator than you is. Huh? Because of their wickedness, they have led my people to disbelieve in my judgments and my plans of my kingdoms. For which reason, more are they apostatized in my sight than such as are good who say there is no God. Throw open the doors, O Israel. My angels stand at the threshold. These my words, which I have told to thee beforehand. When did you tell them? Tonight, Torah. When did I tell them? Shall be corroborated by thousands and hundreds of thousands of witnesses from my heavens. Seek for the resurrection of thy soul, O Israel, that Jehovah may be glorified in thee forever and ever and ever, forever, ever, forever, ever, forever. Listen, black people, listen. I hate to even use the term black. But if you got a drop of melanin in your body, if you ever been called black, if you think yourself to be an Israelite, if you ever been oppressed, if you don't know your history, then the book of Earth, Air, and Spirit is a must read. You must read this. This is the only primary doctrine or source material for spiritual advancement on the planet, which not only teach you how to advance in real life and physical life while you living, but how you advance in your afterlife and the assurity you gonna know before. Okay, hold on. But let's just, because we can go back into it, because we want to see what Oahspe for. What is for? What why that shit come? Y'all worried about if it came. Y'all worried about who? You never worried about why. You dig what I'm talking about? You never worried about you so worried about it coming through so-called Esau, right? You so worried about it coming through the white man, right? Okay, but you never take into effect that our creator is fair, and Esau was tricked out of his motherfucking inheritance, and so he should be the guy to come back and set everything straight today. Ain't that fair? Hold on. Your creator ain't never came to you when you was the high raised people. He always came to you when you was in the lowest of the low, dirt down, couldn't read, oppressed, enslaved, just spiritually unripened, corrupt. Well, if that's the case and creator come to them people, shouldn't he have came to white people in the 1880s? Wasn't they the lowest?
Damn.
Shouldn't it have come through them then? Huh? Stop with the prejudice. Stop with the racism. It's beneath you, Israel. You are better than that. You the child of the Most High. Stop hating on us. Stop. Read the goddamn book. If it don't, then guess what? Fuck it. Hold on. Let me put this out there. Fuck this book. How about that? The book is on the inside. You can only tell the creator by his creations, correct? You can only prove the creator by its creations, correct?
They don't know. They don't know we're not bound to the book.
No, fuck that book. That book ain't nothing but pages and paper. It's the information on the inside that counts. Your God got you in so much fear, you scared to step out of bounds because you think you're gonna go to hell. He didn't scare you forever. He didn't scare you forever. How many of you? The brother asked y'all a serious question earlier. Your God commanded the killing of babies. How many of y'all gonna go kill an infant right now? Raise your hand.
Talk to him.
Let me see some black fists in there for everybody who gonna go out there and kill a baby.
Hey, that's some real rap.
That's real. That's real talk right there. That's hey.
Huh?
We just read that the Most High Creator over here is against warfare. So now the burden is on you to say, are you going to engage in killing infants? When that white boy went up in Buffalo, started laying them people down, who's to say that God ain't telling him to do that? The same God that says your God is a God of warfare.
God is a man of war.
Exactly. See, this is why we go hard, because they got your minds corrupted, and this Bible got you following a God of destruction, and you're going to act that out eventually. Because these deceiving angels could send a vision, a dream to your camp leaders, and each camp leader will wake up the next day and say, I had a vision. They'll talk among each other. We had the same vision. It's the Lord speaking to them. We must execute judgment. Being deceived by the goddamn false God. That's why we debate any one of you niggas, the Oahspe verse the Bible, just on that premise alone. Because you're going to damnation and destruction following this God of war. Well, we telling you the Creator says do not engage in warfare for these afflictions that come upon the spirits or the angels in heaven. Do not engage in warfare because the spirit is born on the battlefield in chaos on the battlefield.
Let me ask my brothers this. Let me ask my brothers this, right? Let me ask my brothers this. If it's two brothers, right?
Right.
One of you is telling them, one of them is saying, I heard from the creator that we should go kill infants, children, and go ride on white folks and murder everybody. One is saying that. And then another brother is saying, thou shalt not kill, not even for your food, and peace unto all men, and joy, be a joy to your neighbor. Which one came from the creator?
And which one didn't?
The second one.
The second.
Okay,
I know.
so
Check this. Hold that, yo, Cal P, hold that. Because what you was trying to explain, I'm gonna read the verse in the Oahspe where it talks about the two inspirations to know which one coming from the creator or not. Now check this. This is in the book of Inspiration, chapter 9, verse 1. I'm gonna read verse 1 to 4. Verse 1 states, man I created with the capacity to distinguish my direct from my indirect inspiration, saith Yahweh. Verse 2, and my angels gave him rules whereby he may make manifest the difference between the two. Verse 3, man had said, behold, another man may say, thus saith Jehovah, one killeth his neighbor, saying, I was thus inspired of Yahweh. Another practicing all goodness, and his words are wisdom and comprehension, and he saith, I was inspired by Jehovah. So quick, fast, you got two people that are saying they're inspired by Jehovah, one practicing righteousness, one killing his neighbor, but they both proclaiming the creator. Check this. Verse 4. I say unto thee, O man, in this I also give thee liberty thereto, judge thou thyself, which came from me and which came from Satan, from thy surroundings. Verse 5. Thou shalt be thy own judge in all things. Behold, I sent my God to judge thee, but thou shalt also judge the judgment of thy God. So right here is telling you that if a person says, I was inspired to kill, and they say, thus saith Jehovah, and another person said, I was inspired, and they practice in righteousness, the creator said, don't be fooled, which one came from me. The one practicing righteousness is the one that came from me. The one that said who wanted to kill his neighbor was inspired by who? Satan. That's why I say we got these false gods assuming to be Yahweh, spilling bloodshed, convincing you to spill bloodshed. Why would the creator send you to go in the land of Canaan or anywhere to spill blood when he could just withdraw the breath out of the mortals?
Right.
He could just withdraw the breath out of you. Why would he send you to go kill a product of his creation to go kill another product of his creation when he can withdraw the breath? Say that to
and
say.
Then told you, and then told you that was your inheritance, but you had to go kill a man for it.
Exactly.
But hold on, we always want to get down to
infants for it.
Come on, kill infants, bash their heads against the walls. Ain't that what the book say? Yeah. Come on, man. We always worried about.
That's why we up here, because this is the shit y'all following, thinking this is the Most High, and we trying to show y'all this is coming from a false deity claiming to be the Most High with destructive behavior, and the Oahspe is exposing it, hook, line, and sinker. That's why we up here for debate. Get your best rabbis, get your Tazariach, your General Yohanas, your Nathaniels, put them on the plate. Oahspe versus the Bible. The battle of the creator. Is the creator in the Bible or is the creator in the Oahspe? Which one is which? This is the time right now for this. That's why we here.
We here to clear it up. We here to clear it up and bring our people not to lords and gods and saviors and messiahs and somebody you got to do it through. You're gonna teach yourself how to raise yourself. You're gonna be your own savior. Not as somebody gonna do it for you. But look, we always want to be exact and on point, right? So we always want to know the who, what, why, where of faithism. You see what I'm saying in this book? Because we don't just believe this book. To prove a thing to be true, you must have subjective and objective truths laid against historical and empirical data, laid against what's commonly known by man. That is called scientific method. We test everything. We don't believe nothing. Right. But you know why we go so hard with it now is because we have tested this and it has proven true. Now we back to wake our people up. But look, right here in the book of Oahspe, right? In the first book, chapter 24, it says, "Not immaculate is this book, Oahspe, but listen to what this is for. But to teach mortals how to attain to hear the Creator's voice and to see his heavens in full consciousness. This is what Oahspe is here for. We told you it's a primary source of spiritual advancement. Not immaculate is this book, Oahspe, but to teach mortals how to attain to hear the Creator's voice and to see his heavens in full consciousness while still living on the earth, and to know of a truth, the place and condition awaiting them after death. And look, for anybody who's saying, well, was the laws and what was the laws
Let me ask you a
that are
question.
given in Oahspe? Are they the same thing that was given? They weren't the same thing that were given to Moses and Abram. Well, let's shut that up. Neither are nor were the revelations within this Oahspe wholly new to mortals. The same things have been, different things. No, the same things have been revealed at the same time unto many who lived at remote distances from one another. So that not only the people of Moses's time were getting this information, and they didn't know it till after. We getting the information now, seeing that the same information was given to Moses and Abram and Capelia and Chiney and Po and Iwata. You dig what I'm talking about? So who live at remote distances in space and time from another, but who were not in correspondence till afterwards. But because this light is thus comprehensive, which means it entails everything, right? Notice you ain't came with a question we couldn't answer. Because this light is thus comprehensive, embracing corporeal or physical, corporeal and spiritual things, it is called the beginning of the Cosmon era, which is now, or what y'all call the information era. And because it relates to earth, sky, and spirit, it is called Oahspe, which is the ancient panic tongue, the very first language ever spoken by a man. When you look at the earth, you say, oh. When you look at the sky, you say, ah. And your spirit is speak. So the book is Oahspe. It is the book of earth, air, and spirit. What else would Creator come to tell you to rule and dominate? Talk to me.
Hey, yo, Cal, I think one of the brothers they were trying to interrupt. They had a question, I think.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Malachi.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Let me
since y'all brought him up, Malachi.
Listen, shout out to the Nazarenes, man, to the Essenes, because they are people too. They waking up too. They knew something was off. You can't tell me thou shalt not kill and then tell me to go kill the Ammonites, the Jebusites, the Hivites,
the infants. Stick with the infants. That should say infants and children.
Infants and children.
Infants.
Come on. But look, we well versed. We don't, and if you notice, we never bash the Bible once. We on the God neck. We don't bash the people. We on the God, the God that the people praise.
The people are.
We don't turn down no truth.
Yo, check it.
We don't turn down no truth.
Yo, Cal, the people are a victim of the gods. So the reason the people doing what they doing is because of the gods. That's why we on the neck of the gods. They
going through Stockholm syndrome. The God didn't bruise them so much they think it's right.
Damn.
They think it's okay. But hold on. Shout to the Nazarenes, right? Because in the book of Kepha, in the Essene Gospel of Peace, Kepha, who is Peter, by the way, and Kepha is Bantu. Literally, the Hebrew is Bantu. Right. So let's get that out the way. Kepha say, the Creator is not found in the book. What? He say, The Creator is found in all life. He's found in all life. Hold on, let me go to the very first. What the Creator say? What he say? He say, come on, man. Listen. These are the most powerful words. There ain't a book in the world that can hold a candle to Oahspe. We're not telling you to turn down your book. We saying after you done with that, there's higher light. We're gonna explain the book. Tell me this ain't your Creator. Sit here and tell me this don't sit well with you.
Yo,
Chapter
Cal, let
1
them
of
get
the
their
book.
question in. Let them get their question in, Cal.
What was it?
It was basically I heard, I think you and some people in the chat was like that Jacob stole the birthright from Esau, but we see in the Bible that the spirit, but y'all might say it's an angel, came upon Rebekah and told her that he wanted Jacob to be the chosen one, and so that's why she did what she did. It wasn't Jacob, it was Rebekah, but in the Bible it says that the spirit came to Rebekah and told her that no, he's going to be the chosen one, because Esau was his father Isaac, saying chosen one. So I just want to kind of get clarification on that.
Hold on, we street cats, right? Hold on, we gonna go first before we get to anything, and I'm gonna let SELAH get to this, and I'm gonna let him go ahead and answer this. But first and foremost, we all street dudes. You can't tell me no bullshit. Now you trying to tell me a spirit told her to lie and she was okay with it. First of all, does that sound like the Creator to you? And then Jacob went with the lie. So hold on. Me and Don Yahuda, I done told Don Yahuda this nigga didn't messed around with me and to take me around the corner. I'm about to blast on this nigga because he don't need to be, he not the one. He shouldn't have the birthright. He shouldn't have it. Me and Don Yahuda done bent the damn corner. He driving, I shoot. Right? Mm-hmm. He driving, I shoot. Is Don Yahuda an accomplice to that murder?
Yes.
Okay, it's the same thing with Jacob, with Rebekah. Just street common logic. This is street nigga sense. Let me tell you what the Creator tell us. Common sense is him. So guess what the highest form of common sense in the world is today? It's called street knowledge. It's called game. It's called swag. That is the highest form of common sense in the world. Proof of it is that a Fortune 500 company, man, will lose everything and go on the streets and be a crackhead within a week. Damn near about to kill itself in a month. But you can take the poorest, brokest nigga, can't read or write, but he know how to sell some dope. You can put him in that Fortune 500 company, and he will blow it up. We see it every day. We know Rick Ross. We know the real Rick Ross. He couldn't read or write, had the biggest drug distribution in the world, or at least in the United States. Mm-hmm. He couldn't read or write, but he had a whole bunch of street knowledge. So let's stop with that. Trick no good. You dig what I'm talking about? This is the purpose of Oahspe. It's to reveal that stuff, like you said, not the stuff that you know. It's here to tell you the stuff you don't know.
Okay, let me get my last couple questions in. Freemasonry. We see that it has a lot of ties in with the Holy Scriptures. Does it have any ties in the Oahspe? What does the Oahspe say about Freemasonry? Does it have any ties in? Do you think that we should use Freemasonry knowledge? What do you think?
Well, John Newport was a 33rd degree Mason. But like as far as like I say, if you read the Oahspe, Masonry is even irrelevant to that because it's like going to school. So Masonry would be just one of the subjects in school, but the scope of school is to graduate to go to college. So it's like those minute things, like I said, we don't get caught out there because the Oahspe is more voluminous than any particular Masonic ritual or whatever the case may be. So it's like, if you read it, it ain't got nothing to do, because Mason, to be technical, is dealing with building. You know what I mean? Hiram Habith and Solomon, they're dealing with the building of the temple. It's dealing with mathematics, it's dealing with building.
And also the building of man.
The greatest Masons were the pyramid builders.
And let them know that the Masonic rites, everything contained in the Masonic rites are in the first level of the adept school. It is it's the lowest. But another key to the Masonic rite is that they got this power, they got the information of prophecy from JBN, and this is why they dominate the world. Why do you think 33 is their key number? What? Why do you think 33 is their key number? You want me to tell you why y'all don't know? It's because you don't know how to reckon time. You don't know that prophecy is a tool, no different than a hammer, no different than a screwdriver. It has absolute rules. There are only three things really in all creation that don't change: time, prophecy, and creator. Right? In facts. And because they know how to prophesy, they pre-plan and dominate the world without you even knowing. Don't you want to know how they do it?
Yeah.
Huh? What's going to happen to you in 2030? Do you know what's going to happen to the planet? How about every 33 years repeats itself? So you add 33 times 33, you add 1, that's 100. So the same thing that happens in 1930 gonna happen in 2030 unless you avert it. What happened in the 1930s, fellas? Okay, for instance, just to show y'all that it worked.
Nah. Before you go to the 30s, hit them. What happened with the 20s?
Okay, that's what I was getting into. That's why that's why I'm about to kill him. Just to show you that prophecy is not a thing to be played with. It is an absolute tool. It don't change. It don't care how we feel about it. In 2020, you had a pandemic. Guess what you had in 1920? A pandemic. The Spanish flu. Guess what you had in 1820?
A pandemic.
Huh? A pandemic. Guess what you had in 1720?
Every 100 years.
Yeah,
come on, are you waking up? Are you seeing it? Your creator did not go to sleep.
When we was talking about how prophecy is laid out, it's not like how you look at prophecy as a particular people. It's a holistic view of prophecy. And it has, like the brother said, it has rules to it. And he's telling you the 33rd year rules. What I broke down earlier was the 3,000-year rule. And within that 3,000 years, the rise and falls of nations. Now he's giving you the preliminaries, the basis, the rudimentary of the 11, 33, 66, 90-year cycles. And he's proving it by showing you the pandemics that took place every 99 or 100 years.
Excuse me, SELAH. Excuse me, SELAH. Let me ask the brother. Hilltop Tribes, Don Yahuda. Can I ask you, brother, something?
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
How long is a generation?
From my understanding, 30 years.
Wrong. Hilltop, how long is a generation?
100 years.
Wrong. It's 33 years. Why do you think it's the master number of the Mason? Why do you think they dominate the world without you seeing them?
Right. I mean, that 33 is deep. I mean, I'm pretty sure you could break down a whole slew of things with that 33 alone.
Come on, because guess what? It is the master number. The master number is 3 and 11. But guess what 3 times 11 is?
33.
Come on, then. That is the number of a generation. Let me ask you, brothers, once again. Let me ask you, brothers, this question also. What year is it? Hold on. Let me give you a basis. What year is it since the creation of man with spiritual ability? See, who you call Abel? Or since
That was my
you want to go back? Or you want to
that
go
was my
back?
next question. That was my last
Or
question. How long have human beings been living on this earth? When I mean human beings, I mean mankind with a brain in his head. You know, mankind. That's Neanderthal and all caveman. I don't give a damn. He got a
That's real. That's
Flintstone.
real.
You know what I'm saying? How long have humans been living on this earth? That was my last question. My last question.
So, like I stated before, the timetables of prophecy gives us a measure of time from the creation of man to our present time based off of 3,000-year cycles. So, like I said, we in the 25th arc cycle. Just to keep it simple, from the creation of man to the flood is 48,000 years, and from the flood to us is 24,000 years, giving us a total of 72,000 years. So, from the creation of Adam to our present time is roughly 72,000 years. That's just a basis. Now, in the Oahspe, it talks about the inhabitable time of the planet. And that inhabitable time is 100 broken down into half cycles of 72,000 years. So we're at the midway mark of the inhabitable. Yo, Cal, put your phone ringing. We're at the midway mark of the inhabitable time on the planet. And then we have another 72,000 years before mortals become extinct of the planet. And the Oahspe goes into that, the creation, the inhabitation, and the extinction of mortals to a planet. And then these cycles repeat again, no different than the cycles of the seasons, spring, summer, fall, and winter. So the fruits that produce this year, it ain't the same fruits of next year. So the stock of humans that is produced in this inhabitable age is not going to be the same stock of humans produced in the next inhabitable age.
Right. You know what's crazy, bro? Because he brought up the whole prophecy in cycles, right? And he asked what, he brought up the example of what happened 100 years ago, which we know the pandemic with the flu and everything. So I was looking up some things as you brothers was talking. And what's crazy is some of the things that happened close to 100 years ago, or should I say 30 years ago, like 1929, it said the world economy begins to enter the Great Depression in late 1929 when the stock market crashes.
Yeah, that's
what we're starting to see that now.
Yeah, that's what we had. So from 1914 to 1948, that's a 33-year period, and that's the period that we're going to be repeating from then. So like the brother said, some of the highlights was the pandemic. That's what we're going through now. The Great Depression. That's what we're about to face next. And then to top it off at the peak of 1948 was what? The Roswell incident when the UFO crashed. There was something extraterrestrial when it hit the peak of that 33. So at the peak of every 33, it's a highlight event.
But hold on, check it out. I want to just touch on this because people listening, just to expound on y'all point with the prophecies and everything. The next thing is that politicians panic and start to turn to protectionism in order to try to prevent further loss of American jobs and commerce from competition abroad. Then it says U.S. Senator Reed Smoot begins calling for an increase in tariffs. This is what Trump did. The tariff act is passed by the United States Congress and proposing an increase of tariffs on foreign imports. We've seen that through his 4 years in presidency. And it said 1,028 economists try to convince President Hoover to veto the tariff bill. We've seen them going against Trump on that, saying it will only cause more damage to the economy. Despite personally disagreeing with the increase in tariff, Hoover signs the bill due to the party pressure. It says next, foreign countries retaliate with their own increased tariffs and trade alliances shift as an impacted bill. We're seeing that right now.
We've seen it with China.
We're seeing that right now. That's crazy.
We're about to go into a financial depression come the 30s. That's what's taking place now.
Yeah, but listen, let me answer the brother question more exactly. The so-called 6 days are really 6,000 year periods or 2 arc cycles. You dig what I'm talking about? Explained in 1,000-year periods. You dig what I'm saying? So that's where the myth of the 6 days come from, explained by the false gods. He was just explaining it to you so you could stop asking him questions. But let me
when they read that part about the false gods,
but let me drop this on you. The Adamites, right? were created 6,000 years before the very. Hold on.
Before the pygmies, the Irons. So he's getting calculated with the time periods. I was just giving you a braces synopsis so you can just understand how the timetables are measured.
Okay. But as I was saying, so the very first men were as dumb as the animals. They're called the Adamites. This is Adam. You dig what I'm talking about? Adam is Hebrew, which would, and we use the Vedic term, asu. So in Hebrew or in Vedic, it both mean the same thing, which means holy from earth. So the Adamites were on earth 6,000 years before the very first man with spiritual ability was born. He in your Bible is called Abel. Get it? Spiritual ability, Abel. Okay. So since that time, it has been 75,174 years exactly to the year. And hold on, let's add the 6,000 years
6,000
of the Adamites, because the Adamites died 2,000 years after Abel was born, or the people went extinct. The people went extinct 2,000 years after the very first people with spiritual ability, which came at the very first arc cycle, which came with the very first God of earth. We are in the 25th arc cycle because we've had 25 true gods of this earth.
Matter of fact, let me interject right there. Actually, that's 25 Etherian gods, because remember the atmospheric gods rule within the arc cycle of 400 years. So you got to multiply that within it to get the total of the true gods.
Right, but we've had 25 true high Etherian gods to run the arc cycles.
Right.
At the very beginning, remember, man couldn't have reckoned time. Time existed before man. Who reckoned time for man? Who told him 60 seconds was in a minute? Huh? Talk to me. So we've been on Earth 81,174 years. We are roughly halfway through the inhabitable time for man to be on the planet. So we are roughly 69,000, a little over 69,000 years from us going extinct. Get your shit together. This is your 144,000. They are not men. They are years.
And let me interject right there. The way we determine the extinction of the planet is based off the soil and vegetation.
Come on.
When you look at the planet on a scale, you got deserts that used to be vegetation. So that shows you that the soil has been exhausted of its resources. So once the planet starts to become barren, so shall man become extinct to the planet. See, the Oahspe explains these things. This is the prophecy on a whole nother level. We're not dealing with one nation. We're dealing with the scope of the whole creation and the whole human race, outside of dealing with the particular people. So that's why the Oahspe is rendering up that this is the book from the Creator, because it's dealing with the whole and not just separate people who are chosen people here or not chosen people here. It's counting the whole and showing you that man will become extinct as a whole species on the planet.
Yeah, that's crazy, because there's a scripture, and man, I hate that I can't remember where it's at, but I always had a question about it, because it was saying something to the extent, if I remember correctly, and if I'm wrong, anybody correct me at some point, but I always thought that near the end, when it was talking about the kingdom and all that, that there was a passage that kind of alluded to like man wouldn't, like all life would be extinct to some extent. And I always ask myself that question, like, does this scripture mean that? I got to find the scripture. And
because a lot of times when they talk about the end, like in the Bible, they're talking about the ending of an arc cycle within 3,000 years. But the actual ending of the inhabitable time on the planet for mortals, that's a different ending cycle. So you got the beginning of an arc cycle and you got the ending of an arc cycle within 3,000 years. So a lot of the prophets that came up within these 3,000 year cycles, they was talking like in the Bible, they talk about the water bearer, the age of Aquarius. They was talking about the ending of a cycle and the beginning of a new one, but it wasn't necessarily talking about the ending of the planet. Even in the Bible, it doesn't talk about the ending of the planet. It talks about a destruction or a judgment, and then it talks about the establishment of the kingdom of God with the 12 gates of Israel. So it's still life proceeding, but the Oahspe talks about the actual extinction of vegetation and animal life on the planet and how the planet becomes a bearing planet until the season of creation rolls over again, no different than spring. So in the wintertime, them trees is barren, they don't bear fruit. But when spring roll around, because it's a cycle, the trees begin to what? Bear life, bear fruit. So the earth goes through that same process. The earth goes through a period where it's inhabitable, it's suitable for vegetation and animals to exist. But then it comes a point where the soil becomes exhausted and animal and man become extinct, and then the process starts again. So these are the timetables of prophecy on a whole scale. And then we can get to the minute, smaller prophecies that you was referring to, like your biblical prophecies. All we got to do is just go within the arc cycle. Within 3,000 years, we just go within the subcycles. Oh, they go Israel right there. They talking about the prophecy when this will take place. We can scale it out because I got a section in the playlist called the timetables of prophecy where I chart out the prophecy and I pinpoint the history. It shows you all that, you know what I mean? So if you go through the playlist, you can see the works.
Okay, Donnie Hoodum, questions?
No, I don't have any questions right now. I mean, we could talk all night, man. I mean, I'm very interested. I would love to build with the brothers again, man, because I see a lot of correlation in the scriptures with what they're bringing out in the Oahspe. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, I know the brothers got a lot of knowledge, you know, with, like he said, he has videos explaining like the timeline. He has videos explaining.
Did he hear? And I know you don't want to miss.
But yeah, so basically, I would love to build with the brothers SHALOM and Cosmic Cow, you know, and just pick their brain with some more information as far as the things that they brought out tonight, man. But I don't really have any more questions. I think those questions kind of got answered in this round right here. So, you know, I'm gonna concede on that one.
We definitely got to do a part 2, maybe a part 3. You know, it's some good building. I love it. Iron sharpens iron. We must always, like I say, knowledge is increasing upon the earth, man. And a good brother, you know, he have a lot of knowledge. You know, he hopefully we get it in maybe next week or whenever, man. We get it in soon again. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, I want a part 2, part 3 of this interview, and we're gonna have some more questions. We'll probably have some more brothers to have some more questions as well. But one person did have a question out there. Shebrew 144. She wanted to know, can you speak on the 1833 incident, November 13th meteor shower?
Well, I ain't too familiar with the that event, but as far as the meteor showers, we could speak on that because in the Oahspe it talks about a time of Aja, which is a time when the earth goes through a condensed region in the atmosphere, and the atmospheric regions condense, and the meteorites, what they call Aja, descend down and fall on the planet. So within these subcycles, when the earth is traveling, it'll encounter times where debris will fall from the heavens, and it'll be like, it's basically what we call meteorites today. In the Bible, they described it as fire and brimstone coming from the heavens. But these are cosmic cycles, cosmic weather cycles, the same way we got hurricanes and snowstorms and hail. On a cosmic level, the earth goes through regions where the atmosphere condenses, and these debris, these meteoritic rocks, what they call Aja, descend and fall to the earth. There's a couple verses in the Oahspe where it talks about that as well.
Hey, I gotta before we possibly close out, there were a couple of questions earlier. I think you touched on the one that Cal P wanted to go over in the Book of Judgments. There was another one by Mercy Always 23 that asked, is this the 33 years of enlightenment? Are we currently in the 33 years of enlightenment?
Well, at the beginning of every arc cycle, the first 200 years are within the hands or the regions of the Etherians. So the greatest part of the light will be at the beginning and at the peak of the cycle, which is 1,500 years within the arc cycle. So you have these periods of light and darkness within the arc cycles. So right now we are in a period of an enlightenment because we got new revelations cropping out. new revelations from the spirit world and how the spiritual kingdoms are ran, spiritual prophecy coinciding with history and cosmological prophecy. So it's definitely a time of enlightenment compared to times where we was enslaved and we couldn't read or write and we was in darkness, education and vice of ignorance. So compared to going from where we were at in the 1700s, 1600s to where we at now, it shows an improvement from darkness to light, mental-wise, as far as consciousness.
Also, the brother explained earlier the nature of an arc cycle, and that for generally the first 200 and then the next 400 or 600 years, or what is called a time and a half time.
Right.
So every time they tell you in the Bible it is a time, it is 400 years. A half time is 200. We are 26 years from 200, the first 200 years of our common era, the Cosmon era. And for the next 400 after, so for the next 426 years, man will incline in spirit and in corporeal.
So we on the up, we on the like after this next fall, like the biblical revelation, the judgment, that's basically the fall of nations that the Oahspe describes, when the nations will fall from their device. But then after the fall is going to be a time of enlightenment. And that enlightenment is going to last for 1,500 years, basically, because the waves goes like this. So the arc cycle starts like this, and then it comes down. You know what I mean? So like the pyramids, when the pyramids was built, that was the peak of the 23rd arc cycle. So when the 23rd arc cycle came in, the peak of the intelligence rose, and then the nations fell later on. But the peak of the 23rd arc cycle was the pyramids. That was the peak of the achievement of that era, because that era was for men to be masters of building stones and things of that nature.
Right.
The Stone Age.
Yeah, that was a time of mastering physicality. Now, Cosmon era, we are to master spirituality. And in this time, you are going to have great physicality and great spirituality all at the same time. This is why it is a blessing to live during these times. Could you, for instance, for any brother, could you imagine living in the 1800s as a slave? We wouldn't have lived long, none of us. We wasn't taking none of that. So
but look at this right now.
So think of this. So think of this. This is what Oahspe explained to us, that humility and good works done for others, right, are the things that advance you spiritually, right? So what could you have taught a slave whose whole life is humility and doing work for others? So that means our grandmothers, great grandmothers are soon to be true gods and lords and heiresses and goddesses of this planet. Huh? What could you have taught a slave about humility, about doing something for others? Nothing.
Right.
So when grandma died, guess where she went? She instantly went to the higher heavens. She didn't have no more low stuff to learn. She was already humble.
Hey, Zadok, you got feedback, bro.
That's me?
No, we good.
Okay. You know what I mean? But for the sisters' questions, we are on an incline. This is the information era. You can look around and see we literally, without moving from your couch, I can go to Japan right now without ever having to go anywhere. We are in the increase. That's what's going on in the up right now.
We in the technological age. We in a new era, and it's like people deny, like, yo, we driving whips. When was the last time in history cats was pulling up in cars and helicopters and motorcycles? That ain't never took place in history as we know it. This is something totally new.
And
now go ahead, Ken.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Elaborate. You good?
No, it's just that it also brings up the question: if this ain't the end times, who is that guy in Revelations 19 and 12 that's going and 12 that's gonna come back with a name across his thigh and a name on a name on his forehead that don't nobody know, that's gonna do all this warring and kill all these people? Who is that then? If these ain't the end times,
They say that's supposed to be Jesus coming back to go to battle, but we read that Yahshua was against warfare. Then they say, like, oh, he came as the lamb, now he coming as the lion.
Creator reveals that I'm not sending no loud speaking dude coming back cracking the sky. Y'all niggas wouldn't believe him. Y'all wouldn't believe him. You get on that ship if you want to. He gonna hit your ass with some celery and some onions and some goddamn carrots and turn you into nigga stew. That's what he coming to do. How you gonna get on the angel ship with your physical body? Think about it.
Right.
So what's coming back to get you? Who is that coming to do all that woe? Is that the creator? He gonna and think about this. He gonna kill everybody but 144,000 niggas. Are you that holy?
Right.
You sure that's the guy you want to praise? You want to? Maybe I might make it. I might make it. You want to take that chance? No. No.
So we got one more question from a person in the audience. That's Matthew Minard, who asked about the Anunnaki. Can't hear you, King.
Your sound down, SELAH.
I might be. Nah, the Anunnaki, that's basically in the Oahspe, in the 23rd arc cycle after the creation of man, basically 4th millennium BC to 15th century BC is the time period of the rise of the Anu Hassaj. It was a false god by the name of Anu Hassaj, and he created a false creation story, which is known as the 7-day creation story. And those stories became what we know as the Amuna Elish in that time period. So when he wrote the story of creation, he was telling his scribes to send it down to mortals in the languages according to their tongues. So the Egyptian creation story, the Sumerian creation story, and even some of the Indian Vedic creation stories from that time period came from this false god, Anu Hassaj. And that's the same false god's creation story that the people are under today. That 7-day creation myth.
That creation myth is almost 6,000 years old. So let me clear this up for y'all too. Anu Hassaj is Anu of Sumer.
Right.
That is the same person. Let me reveal this to you also. Enlil is Anubis and Anki is Osiris. They are the same time period. All this is happening, and these are many. As you see, Osiris is Enki. It's just what you would call land god. So Osiris means land god. Guess what Anki means? Okay. It means land god.
And keep in mind, these stories are myths. They're not real stories. These were stories that was created to imprison the minds of mortals to make them believe in the God concept. So when you read Wars Against Jehovah, it talks about how the false gods hijacked the creator's subjects, meaning mortals, and they gave them a creation story. And mortals have been believing this creation story for the last 6,000 years. Because when you read the creation in the Oahspe about how the worlds are created, it's totally different from what you've been taught in the Bible. The Oahspe talks about before any world is created, vortexian energy is created first. And it's the vortex that produces celestial bodies. It has a process. And then, like I said, you got the inhabitable time and then the time of barrenness and extinction. So Oahspe gives you, like I say, a whole spectrum, a whole ecosystem, a whole prophecy when dealing with the cosmological creation. While in the Bible, the 7-day creation story was given by a false god to imprison the minds of mortals. And that's what we got. Because the creation story talks about fruit trees growing on the 3rd day, and then the sun, moon, and stars growing on the 4th day. That's out of sync with nature. In the Oahspe, it talks about the vortex produces the sun, and the vortices within the sun create smaller vortices, which become the planetary bodies or the celestial bodies. So the sun is the central head, and the bodies are satellites, or the planets are satellites to the sun. So when the earth was created, the sun was already there. Ain't no confusion over here when it comes to creation. But in the Bible, it got you believing that fruit trees, herbs, and grass was growing before sun, moon, and stars were created, when according to nature, that's impossible.
Also, they had light before the sun and moon was created.
And that's
Where was that light
also
source? And can anybody show me a source? Can anybody anywhere show me light that doesn't have a source?
So when we say light in the beginning, we dealing with a physical creation, so that light should be present. Now, some will be slick and try to say, well, that's the sun, but we can't lean on our own understanding. The sun was created on the fourth day, along with the moon and stars. The celestial lights is the sun, moon, and stars. So how can you have a light that we can't see that's supposed to be a physical thing to observe? So what we're saying is that the creation story in the Bible is out of wax, and it was inspired by a false god. That's what the Oahspe shows. And then the Oahspe shows how Jehovah the Creator. Let me give you an example how Jehovah create world. Just as a breakdown of how it differs from the idea of a 6-day creation story. So check this. In the book of Jehovah, chapter 3, right? Verse 1, it states, I'm going to read from verse 1 to verse 8. Thus spoke Jehovah by the light of Cosmon proclaimed, he these things amongst the nations of the earth. Verse 2, man look upward in prayer, desiring to know the manner of all created things, both on earth and in heaven. And Jehovah answered him, saying, verse 3, the whirlwind made I as a sign to man of the manner of my created world. So we have a reference, the whirlwind. Where do we see the whirlwind? We see that in nature as a hurricane, a tornado, a cyclone. We see that in nature. So he's describing how his worlds are created by the manner of the whirlwind. And then it states, as though beholdeth the power of the whirlwind, gathering up dust of the earth and driving it together, know that even so do I bring together the Ajah, the Jaya, and the nebula in the firmament of heaven. By the power of the whirlwind created I the corporeal sun, moon, and stars. And I commanded man to name the whirlwind in the Etherian firmament, and he named them vortices and works according to their shapes, named he them. Verse 4. By the power of rotation, swift driving forth in the extreme parts, condense I the atmosphere, the atmospherian worlds that float in the firmament, and these become my corporeal worlds. In the midst of the vortices made I them, and by the power of the vortices I turn them on their axis, and carry them in their orbit alluded to them. Wider than to the moon of a planet have I created the vortices, and they carry the moon also. Verse 5, around some of my corporeal worlds have I given nebula belts and rings, that man may comprehend the rotation of my vortexian worlds. Verse 6, for each and every corporeal world created I a vortex first. So when we talk about in the beginning, nigga, the vortex is supposed to be first. So in creation, it states what? A great vortex. No, it says, for each and every corporeal world created I a vortex first. And by its rotation, and by the place in the firmament, whether it traveled, caused I the vortex to conceive the physical world, the corporeal world. Verse 8, a great vortex created I for the sun. And within the vortex of the sun,
911 assist is not operational.
Verse 7, a great vortex created I for the sun. And within this vortex and subject to it, made I the vortices of many corporeal worlds. So right here it's telling you that the worlds are subjected to the vortices of the sun. The sun vortex I cause to rotate, and I give it power to carry other vortices within it. So the sun is the head honcho in charge. According to their density and position are they thus carried forth and around about the sun. Think not, O man, that I created the sky a barren waste and void of use. Even as man in the corporeal form, the physical form, is adapted to the physical earth, so is he in the spiritual form adapted to my Etherian worlds. 3 great estates have I bestowed on man, the corporeal, the atmospherian, and the Etherian. So right here it's showing you that the vortex is the driving force of creation. And it gave you examples in nature to back the creator based off what the text is saying. So you can't show me in the Bible where creation has to deal with the manner of vortices, which is responsible for producing celestial bodies. You can't be on the planet if the vortex ain't created first. You can't have a sun, moon, and star if the vortex ain't created first. So the Oahspe, and then in the book of Jehovah, verse 1, chapter 1, it states, all was, all is, all shall ever be. The all spoke that, And motion was and is and ever shall be, being positive, calling he and him, the all motion was a speech. This all motion that they're talking about is the vortex, what we just read. So the driving force of the creator is the vortex. That's the power and force of creation. That's the ruach. That's the spirit, the air, the all in all. What in creation encompasses everything? Air. The spirit, the ruach, that means what? Air, atmosphere. But this air, which in turn is minerals, because oxygen is a mineral, hydrogen is a mineral. So everything on a physical plane is in the atmosphere as a gaseous plane as far as minerals. So when the vortex is given a rotary, these minerals, these gases are driven to the center and are amalgamated. And then the process of celestial creation begins. Oahspe explains this. And you see how different it sounds compared to a nigga sitting around talking about, I created this, that, and the third day. You know what I mean? It's a different read. This is the cosmological celestial work we talk about when dealing with creation. We're not dealing with a nigga standing right, because remember in the Bible, God is a man, and he's standing in space doing this. We're not dealing with that.
Con, man. We definitely got to do a part 2 and probably a part 3 as soon as possible. I'm gonna be going out of town next week, but we're gonna do this like about another 2 weeks from now, man. We're gonna build. We're gonna have more questions, and man, I like your knowledge, like your insight, brother. Love your energy. Like you say, it's a vibes.
It's a vibes.
It's a vibes, man. I think the brother KLP. I think he might be doing something right now. But I think the brother KLP.
No, I'm back on.
Okay. I like to thank everybody in the chat. Yeah, we're gonna build again, man. I mean, because this is a much needed. I love knowledge. I love sword fight. I mean, I just love just building. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, this is a series on the channel called Controversial and Deep Biblical Breakdown, and it's very controversial. You know what I'm saying? And I love it. But like I say, it's a wrap. The Oahspe. What's the title of it? What's the title of the show? Damn, I forgot the title of the show. The Oahspe. Is it a real book? And what's the differences with the Bible? Is it
the last revelation?
Yeah,
is it the last instructions
from the Creator?
From the Creator.
The Holy Bible.
Yeah, to address that, the Oahspe is not the last revelation. It's just another revelation of many more to come, like all the other revelations we had in the past. Yeshua came with a revelation. Moshe came with a revelation. Abraham was given a prophecy and revelation. So as long as we on the planet, the Creator is going to continue to give us revelation according to the progression of man at the time he is on the planet.
Where can we find you brothers at?
You
could just Google or YouTube SELAH Shalom, and I'll pop up SELAH Shalom TV, and you can come over my channel. I got a plethora of information. I got playlists. I got lessons where I explain this in great detail. So you could go check out the lessons. Based off the title of some of the videos, it may appease your curiosity. Like I got one, who was the Creator? How do you worship the Creator? The evolution of the Creator to false gods, and how that happened, how the evolution happened in history. I got a plethora of information on that. So this was a great build, because it was a build. It wasn't a debate. It wasn't where we was actually going in chapter and verse to really get any specific details. But that's why I personally like the debates, because when you have a debate in a topic, you could concentrate and get detailed and get the answers clear, in that manner. So we still up for the debates. We still up to, Jehovah in the Bible versus Jehovah in the Oahspe, who's the real Creator. That's what we want to deal with. We want to stay on top of the gods, because it's the gods that got the people behaving the way they do. So if we address the gods, it'll, in return, change the people. Because if we're telling you not to engage in warfare, and it's a commandment by the Creator not to engage in warfare based off the spiritual conditions that takes place for engaging in warfare. But then you have in the Bible, God is inspiring warfare. So that's why we got to get these things together. Because over here, we warning you that if you do that, this was going to transpire in spirit. But if your God told you that, you'll be on the same page. Like, we're not doing that, because if I go clap a man down, I'm going to jail. But your man's just telling you, let's go clap this man down, not thinking about the consequences that come with that, because you're not thinking about it's a camera right there. It's 12 sitting around the corner, but you ain't know it because you ain't do your homework. So you go lick this man down and go do your robbery, and you get locked up, and then you're like, damn, we behind bars. And then you think to yourself, man, I shouldn't have done this. My voice told me not to do this. So that's what we the ones telling you. We your conscience saying, stop, don't be mindful of these gods you follow claiming to be the Most High. Be mindful of these gods you following that's telling you to go engage in warfare. Be mindful of these gods that's telling you it's okay to kill infants. This is what we're telling you. We're giving you fair warning. Because after you die, we don't know what happens. None of us know. But books, these revelations are supposed to be guides to our afterlife. So if you got one book is telling you about if you kill a man, if you don't know what that man, you don't know nothing about the life after. So if you take a man's life, you don't really know the scale of what you're doing. And the Oahspe is telling you that if you take a man's life, the spirit of that man could have vengeance on his soul based off what you did to him. And then when you cross over, you got to face that vengeance. Ain't no God coming to help you out. When you get into a street fight, ain't no angel coming to help you. You got to work that out yourself. Oahspe gives you the revelations that real. You're responsible for your whole being, your whole makeup. You're responsible for your resurrection. You're your own savior. And once you become enlightened, you become the savior to others until they become enlightened. So that's what we're doing here. We're clearing up the fact that the Oahspe is a revelation from the Creator, divinely inspired, and we could prove it chapter and verse. And the Bible does have revelations that, like the book said, they spoke of Jehovah in his creations, but it was inspired by a false deity. That's why you have these different gods at different times. One is telling you animal sacrifice is okay. Another is telling you that I didn't command your forefathers. See, we ain't getting confused over here in the Oahspe when it comes to that. So, SELAH, Shalom, Shaman out. Nice having you, brothers. Shout out to Hilltop 12 Tribes, Don Yehuda. Hopefully we came to some clarity. And if anybody still have doubt and want to debate the topic so we could get further clarity, because we had a debate with Ben Dawood, Yirmiyahu, and y'all seen how that went. Yes, you seen what book cleared up who was God, and Lord, chapter and verse, without ego. So that's what I'm here for. I'm not here for nothing else other than let's debate the book, chapter and verse, and see which book has more clarity concerning who we call the Creator.
Okay.
And we here because we love y'all. Y'all are family. Regardless to what you call yourself, you still my brother.
Facts.
God,
and I couldn't in good conscience just pass on with this information. I love y'all brothers. Y'all and y'all brothers for real. We got different mothers, but we all got the same father.
God. Well, man, hopefully next time we have some brothers, you know what I'm saying, that want to clash swords with y'all and sharpen up, man. We're going to put something together probably another 2 weeks. Like I said, man, this is a great bill. Love y'all brothers, man. Love the brothers and sisters in the chat. Shebrew, I see all of y'all. Mercy, brothers of Dog, Candy, man, shit, it was so many people.
The chat was jumping.
Man,
the chat was jumping.
Chris,
Y'all get them lights up too, man. Y'all get them lights up, man.
Throat Puncher 420. Man, you must be smoking some killer. Throat Puncher 420.
Hey, speaking of which, real quick, hey, plug your herbal spot, man, because I know you're in the holistic joint.
I think on this one, I got to put it in the back chat or because it won't allow me to put it because I don't really be on the stream.
Yeah, in a private chat, you can put it in the private chat, I guess.
All right, and then I guess somebody could copy it and put it in the front.
Yeah. Go and get them bittersweet herbals, man.
Yeah, see the bittersweet, and see that's another thing we in cahoots with the Creator, because in the Creator say in this era, the 7th era, we are to become herbivore. Let me just read that last part real quick before I let you go, where it talks about how we are supposed to change our diet for this dispensation of time. So, like right here, it states in the Oahspe, chapter 1, verse 16, it states, "Behold, the 7th era is at hand. Thy Creator commandeth thy change from a carnivorous man of contention to an herbivorous man of peace. The foreheads of the beast shall be put away, and war shall be no more on the earth." So right here it's telling you that the Creator said in this dispensation of time to be herbivorous of a man of peace, herbivorous man or woman of peace, and a restraint from the carnivorous diet of contention. And the example of that is in nature. When you look at herbivorous animals, they eat at peace. When you look at the zebras, the cows, the giraffes, they're at peace when they feast and eat. But when you look at the lions, when it's time to eat, they're ferocious, they're aggressive, they're contentious. So Oahspe is showing you, look at nature. Look at my animals and look at the nature of their diet and their behavior. So shall you reenact that through your diet. The herbivores, man, be more peaceful and without contention. But if you're going to be a carnivorous, you're going to have contention, just like the animal kingdom. It showed you the difference between the herbivores and the carnivorous animals. So, yeah, beautiful.
Con.
Nice.
Well, until next time, brothers and sisters, shalom. Peace and hair grease.
Shalom and peace, brothers.
Shalom.